Over on the East Loop, going eastbound, got a crash blocking the center lane there at Jefferson Street. Then Rivergate got a crash reported by police 65 northbound right before Vietnam Veterans Boulevard. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, we're going to sit here and talk about all the names of the popes for the next 4 hours, and you're going to like it. On Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I was just asked a question moments before, I wouldn't make this up, moments before I came on air. A compatriot of ours from over at the Dunderhead Sports Station. I mean, they know their sports ball, but I don't know that they know about the Pope very much. And so young Jackson walks in. You see Jackson come in from time to time.
Oh, yeah.
And
it's like you mentor him each day.
And you know what Jackson wanted to know from me today?
What's that?
How many popes have there been in my lifetime? And I told him there have been 5. Although that number is a little skewed because, I mean, the Pope when I was born was Pope Paul VI.
Yeah.
And then he's gone in 78, and then there's John Paul I, and he was there for like a month.
Yeah.
And then John Paul II was selected, and he picked his name in honor of John Paul I. And then there was Benedict, and then there was Francis, and that's it. Mm-hmm. 5 in my lifetime, and I'm 51. That's why we talk about these popes. But then Jackson asked, I said something about, well, he picked that name because of that pope, and he goes, they picked their own names. And I was like, well, yeah, they picked their own names, and you could pick any name. To which Jackson said, you mean if he wanted to be Popey McPoopy Pants? And I said, well, yeah, I think he would have to be Pope. I don't think he gets to change the title.
Couldn't say Popey.
He can say Popey, but I think if you wanted to be Pope McPoopy Pants, I think you could be. I think that's acceptable. I don't think the church would like it.
Probably not.
I think they'd frown
Just a
on
guess
it.
there, yeah.
But there have been some pretty wild names over the papacy. And we'll go over some of those with you today on Super Talk 99.7 WTN, and I promise to make it interesting. Hello, my name is Matt Murphy. This is The Murphy Show until 7 o'clock today, or we insult the Catholic Church enough that they boot us off the radio, but haven't the Catholics done enough for themselves? And there's Ken Weaver. I'm just letting it out there. There's Ken Weaver. He's back in Newsroom B, making sure that all of the headlines are covered for you twice an hour, and when it breaks, hello, Mr. Weaver.
How about you?
How's it going?
How's it going? Good.
Most controversial thing I've said today is already getting reaction on the super text line, Ken.
What's that?
That people don't like grits. Nobody likes grits. You just like what go in grits, okay? You like butter. Yeah. You like gravy.
Right.
You like my grandma used to my grandmother used to put tomato slices and gravy in her grits.
Interesting.
And it was pretty good because I tried it. I didn't like grits though. Nobody likes grits.
So that's pig intestines, right?
No, grits is corn.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Well, what's pig intestines?
That's chitlins.
Oh, chitlins.
Weaver said that during the cross with Chad Benson, and I thought he was making a weird joke that I didn't get.
No.
So I take it you're not a grit eater.
Well, in fact, I think I might have eaten some grits thinking it was chitlins.
Well, I mean, I guarantee you that grits taste better than chitlins.
Yeah, 100%.
What about if you put broccoli on it?
I like broccoli. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, me too.
I like it steamed. I like it in stuff. I like it raw.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like it on a salad. Yes, I'm a big fan of the broccoli. Although when you're cooking it, it tastes so much better than it smells.
Yeah, I can smell a little funky.
Yeah, it smells like somebody's farting.
It does, Ken.
It's true.
It does. I mean, just go right there where the goats can graze on it. That's exactly right. It
Same
smells
for
like
cabbage and
smells like someone
Brussels
is farting
sprouts.
in the kitchen.
yeah.
Then about 8 hours later, somebody is.
Farting in
That's
the
true.
bed, obviously, most times. That's how that happens. Anyway, these are the conversations that we're going to have today.
That's how they go south.
By the way,
That's
45.
how you end up Popey McPoopy Pants.
Popey McPoopy Pants. But no Popey McPoopy Pants today, right? Because we've already got the black smoke.
Already got the black smoke. There will not be any more voting until mañana.
Yeah, because it's like 10 o'clock at night there or something like that.
Yeah, it's getting late. Everybody's got to go back home.
Well, they're sleepyheads over there. I mean, obviously, they are not the eldest of the Cardinals. The electorate of Cardinals have to be under the age of 80. The other question that Jackson asked after he asked if they could name themselves Popey McPoopy Pants, he said, why don't we have a 30-year-old Pope? Which is a little bit of a better question. I mean, you could have a 30-year-old, but I don't even know if there's any 30-year-old Cardinals. I would seriously doubt it.
Probably not.
I think you have to rise through the ranks and, age and wisdom and all of those types of things. And I want to say that Pope John Paul II was one of the youngest modern popes.
Yeah, and he was in his, late 50s or something?
Somewhere in the 50s.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, so if you get anywhere in the 50s, that is considered a quote-unquote young pope. 8110 says broccoli steamed with a drizzle of lime juice. Delicious.
Oh, yes.
I've never tried it with the lime juice.
I
Sounds good.
agree. I agree.
That sounds delicious. Sharon says, hominy is a type of prepared corn that is often used to make grits, but not all grits are made from hominy. These are fun facts that you learn on the Matt Murphy Show when Matt Murphy casts aspersions at you so-called grit lovers. Nobody
I
loves
like grits, by the way, just for the record.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
What do you put in them?
A little salt, a little pepper, a little butter.
So you like salt, pepper, and butter then?
Well, I don't eat salt, pepper, and butter by themselves, but
Well, you should try it because it tastes better without the grits.
So grits, then, is that weird type of corn called hominy.
yeah, it's just ground up
Ground corn. Yeah.
dried, ground, I guess. Yeah.
Cheap, inexpensive. I mean, and really, we shouldn't be eating corn, right? Is that the whole thing?
Really?
Well, it just goes right through you.
It goes right in. I mean, yeah. I mean, that's the idea is that if your body can't digest it, that's your body telling you that you shouldn't be eating it.
I never knew that.
This is digestion talk on the Super Talk 99.7 WTN and the Matt Murphy Show. Better than illegal immigration talk, although we're going to get into that with Scott Sapicki coming up at 4 o'clock this afternoon. Sapicki has done a deep dive with the Tennessee Highway Patrol and other organizations as to what exactly was going on. He's going to fill us in on some information that the local authorities don't seem to be able to manage to get. We'll do that in the 4 o'clock hour. In the 5 o'clock hour, we will say hello to our good friend and buddy Cameron Smith, who joins us on these Wednesday editions. Looking forward to that. By the way, speaking of Cameron, we just recorded a brand new episode of All the Best Words, which will drop later on tonight at 7 p.m. tonight, another episode of All the Best Words. You can find All the Best Words everywhere that Supertalk 99.7 WTN is, whether it's on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, Twitch, or whatever. That's where you can find All the Best Words, and I'll try to share that out on my social media platforms. You can find me on the X Machine at Matt Murphy Show, amongst other places. All the Best Words. It's nice. It's convenient. It's I mean, if you've not heard of it, if you've not liked and subscribed, please do. We come at this. It's like 12, 14 minutes of your time. Cameron brings a word. I bring a word. We talk about those words. These are topical items that are in the news. Sometimes we throw a curveball in there on occasion. Like one of my words, we dropped or at least banked 2 episodes. One will drop tonight and one will drop Friday night. And one of my words was smokes. Smokes. As in smoke them if you got them. As in white and black smoke. Having to do with the papacy, the Pope. So, yeah, I love the fact. All right, so real quick on this. I love that the mainstream media suddenly acts interested in religion now that we don't have a pope. Now, understand something. The leftist media loved Pope Francis because Pope Francis was considered to be something of a left-leaning or less conservative, perhaps more liberal or open-minded pope. Now, he didn't do anything about that in terms of the direction of the church necessarily, but he was looked at that way by the mainstream press. The mainstream media that would suggest to you that faith in and of itself is somehow bigoted, that all religions are somehow exclusionary, that same media is embracing these religious practices and beliefs. Now, that we have a search for a new pope. I turned on my television this morning and watched as CNN breathlessly covered from the Vatican every single aspect of what was a horribly boring ceremony, where there's a lot of singing in Latin. I took Latin in college. Latin 101A, Latin 102. I'm not kidding.
Why would you do that?
Because there's no oral examinations, Chris. That's
wow. I never thought about it like that.
Latin is a dead language. Latin is also very beneficial because it is the root of so many languages, and so you get a basic understanding of a lot of different languages if you take Latin. I took this is how I was at college. I'm the same way now, but I thought, man, oh man, I'm going to bite off more than I can chew multiple times, and I'm going to choke on it. I'm going to spit it up multiple times. So, freshman in college, you got to take a foreign language, right?
Yeah.
Let's take Japanese, Matt said. How'd that work out?
Konnichiwa.
I don't know what you're saying. That's how that worked out. I withdrew. You can withdraw and not have it count against your GPA if you do it in a certain amount of time. I withdrew from that class early enough where I did not get a WF. Then I thought, well, that one was tough. You actually have to go to that class and understand Japanese. Let me try German.
Oh. Wie geht's?
9. That didn't work either. Achtung. So I downshifted to Latin. Latin took. So Latin 101, A. Latin 102, B. Latin 103, C. Latin 104, D.
Wow.
And Professor Biancelli was being very generous with that D. Gerunds and gerundives. Man, tough. Those gerunds and gerundives. Yeah.
You're speaking English, and I don't even know what you're saying.
I was kind of over it by then. But I did learn that, what was it? Cornelia Espuela Romana. That means Cornelia is a Roman girl. I will say, if you take Latin in school, when you take like French or Spanish, you're translating sentences, and those sentences are like, Robert is riding a bicycle. And then Roberto el biciclo, or whatever you say.
Mm-hmm.
Janice goes to the grocery store. Well, when you're doing Latin, you're translating original Latin text.
Yeah.
And so it's like, we must destroy the tyrant. It's a lot more, there's a little excitement involved.
All right.
When you're translating Cicero and that sort of thing. Anyway, but enough of the Latin talk. You'll get enough of that over the next several days. With regard to the selection of the Catholic Pope, the 200 and somethings, 265th, I guess it would be, Pope of all time. I've been over all of them, and we're going to do this together. So just batten down the hatches. Let's start with Peter, the first Pope. Whew. Here we go. Started in 30 A.D.
Oof.
30 A.D. Went till about 64 A.D. That's number one. Number two.
You better pick up the pace.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, I know. I'm just kidding. The Germans do have a word for everything. And let me tell you, the Germans, it doesn't matter what you're saying in German, it sounds like you're angry.
Yes, that's true.
I mean, it's a very angry-sounding language. Very similarly, French, it doesn't matter what you say in French, it sounds like you're surrendering to somebody. And that's the mood that Matt's in today. It's 20 after the hour. We will get into the Pakistani-Indian war, or the possibility of war. So I love the fact that 24 hours into this, everybody's an expert on Indian-Pakistani relations. I don't pretend to be an expert on Indian-Pakistani relations. I do not think that this is a good time for all of this, and I'll tell you why I say that. Joe Biden's alive. Don't know if you saw that or not, but Joe Biden made an appearance on the BBC, and believe it or not, he's not very complimentary of the Trump administration, but still thinks he could have beaten him. The FBI is going to get credit from me today about something or another. Now, I was kind of critical of Kash Patel and the FBI generally yesterday with regard to some of their transparency issues. But today they get a spot of credit from the Matt Murphy Show. We'd love to hear from you, 615-737-9986, 615-737-9986, either via super text or on the phone lines. Just getting started on this Wednesday, May 7 edition of the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk. Matt Murphy here with an update on the one and only Glock Store's big open house happening at the end of the month, just a few weeks away. Saturday, May 31st from 10 until 2, they throw the doors open at the Glock Store and welcome all of Nashville to stop by. The open house is pretty famous for their raffles, and they're going to have raffles galore at the open house this time around, too. Plus, they'll have many speakers. They'll have so many sales, you can't even count them all. They're going to have specials on all sorts of ammunition. They're going to have specials on all sorts of accessories and all sorts of Glocks, as you might expect. I've done this over and over, and I can't wait to do it again. I'll be there from 10 until 2. Would love to say hello to you, and I hope to see you there. The Glock Store's 5th annual open house. Friends, if you've not been to the retail space, you got to see it. You can take tours of the shooting rooms. You know, we've been talking about these shooting rooms for a long time. Have you never been? I mean, they don't do lanes at the Glock Store. They do it a different way, and they can talk to you about that. You can go to shoot270.com online or glockstore.com to find out more about the huge open house happening at the Glock Store. It's the 5th annual, and it's happening Saturday, May 31st. Mark the day and be there at 10 a.m. I'll be there. Worth the drive from anywhere and minutes away from the airport. It's the one and only Glock Store.
No new pope yet. Verdict in for the trial of 3 former Memphis police officers accused in the beating death of Tyree Nichols. Tennessee Highway Patrol releases more data from the coordinated traffic enforcement operation with ICE. These stories and more at 3:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I don't seem to understand. And by the way, for those asking, and I love Chad to death, I was busy recording. I did not hear Chad's conversation with Afton. Several of you were hitting me up about it. I did not hear it, and so I cannot reflect on it. Afton Ben, the cutest little communist in the General Assembly. I don't know what she had to say about it, but I would guess that if Afton was taking a position on it, it was probably wrong. That would be my guess, is that if Afton was taking a position on it, that it's probably the wrong position to take.
She questions whether it's legal.
Whether it's legal?
Yeah.
To arrest illegal aliens?
Yeah, for whether it's legal for the Highway Patrol to do this without a formal agreement with the federal government.
It's not only legal, it's required. In 2024, Representative Rusty Grills sponsored and passed a bill that require law enforcement to communicate with the federal government RE immigration status. Not only are they authorized to do so, it was required as of 2024. So every aspect of what Afton is saying is incorrect then. So, I mean, the idea that the state of Tennessee cannot coordinate and communicate with the federal government, then how the hell are local officials supposed to hand over? I mean, what is she even talking about? What do you think? I mean, what is illegal about the state or local officials picking up the telephone and calling Immigration and Customs Enforcement? I'm very confused. I'm very confused why liberals are very confused. My question and I don't begrudge. I think it's great that Chad has her on. We've had her on in the past. She won't return my calls anymore. But I mean, I guess this is a good time for us to put out a. Do you have a tote board tally? So Chris Weber, as executive producer of the Matt Murphy Radio Show, sent out emails to all local representation, including Representative Afton Ben. And those emails invited those local Democrats who are concerned about this effort to stop the flow of illegal alien activity and other criminal activity in our communities. We presented them an opportunity to come on and present their argument, their case, their concerns, whether it be Afton Ben or J.R. Clemens or Justin Jones or Heidi Campbell, any other local official that wants to come onto this radio show and talk to us about their concerns regarding some of the activities. They are invited and have been invited. Mr. Weber, you sent out, I know, 13 separate emails to local representation.
Correct, yeah.
Can you give us a tote board tally? How many responses do we have, sir? All right, got your calculator out, got your abacus.
Oh, so we got a new total today, and it's still zero. Zero. They're
so concerned. About the disruption in our community that they do not want to come on the community radio station to discuss it with, wait for it now, the community. My question for any of these folks is, Afton, JR, Gloria Johnson, the Justins, Heidi, whomever, Freddie, do you believe that entering the United States of America without using the appropriate immigration channels should be illegal? That's where you start with these people. And that's where we're going to start with you in just a moment. Should being in the United States of America without the proper documentation demonstrating that you have come into the United States of America through the proper channels, should that be illegal or not? And we have a lot of Democrats that apparently don't think that that should be illegal, which means they don't believe in borders. More on that in a moment at 3:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.3:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. No Pope yet. Black smoke coming from the chimney at the Sistine Chapel of the Vatican. The Cardinals will vote again tomorrow. Right now in Tennessee, a jury in Chattanooga has acquitted 3 former Memphis officers of state charges, including second-degree murder in the deadly police beating of Tyree Nichols after he ran away from a traffic stop in 2023. These officers still face the prospect of years in prison after they were convicted of federal charges in this case. Here in Nashville, the Highway Patrol releasing more data from what it calls a coordinated traffic enforcement operation with U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents. Troopers say they've made 369 traffic stops over the last few days. And the following arrests for hazardous moving violations: 2 DUIs, 1 child endangerment, 1 felony evading, 2 drug arrests, 4 felony wanted persons, and 1 motorist assist. Troopers say immigration agents conducted their questioning of the individuals involved separately. And Metro Legal wants everyone to know Metro police officers did not participate in detainments, but did get a request from federal Homeland Security agents for patrols near the ICE facility where detainees were housed over the weekend. That request came last Thursday ahead of this past weekend.
They are doing operations throughout the weekend, and they're concerned of the families having some backlash on Sunday.
So that, says Metro Legal, proves Metro officers did not detain anyone. Metro council members meeting in a specially called emergency committee meeting about this today. Cleared for liftoff? ABC's Jim Ryan says Elon Musk's SpaceX Corporation's been given approval for a 5-fold increase in the number of rockets it can launch from South Texas.
3, 2, 1.
It's a rumble that's likely to be felt across the Texas Gulf Coast a lot more now that the FAA has okayed up to 25 SpaceX launches a year. Rebecca Hinojosa of the South Texas Environmental Justice Network says
Elon Musk and his SpaceX staff have gutted the Federal Aviation Administration.
Others, though, welcome the infusion of tourism dollars that flow into the region every time a launch takes place.
That's the latest news, traffic, and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. All right, downtown got a crash, Broadway near 10th Avenue. Over on the East Loop going eastbound, TDOT says there's a crash near the Jefferson Street, 1st Street exit. Rivergate, police say there's a crash 65 northbound before Vietnam Veterans Boulevard. And in Franklin, still doing some road work with the left lane blocked, 840 eastbound at 65. And then in Woodbine, police reporting a crash 440 eastbound right before Nolensville Pike. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
The Wellness Institute of Nashville understands that you need to get your pain under control, and it's probably something on your mind if you're feeling it on a day-to-day basis, whether it's in your back, your neck, your knees, your hips, your joints, anywhere you hurt. Dr. Kevin Mitchell and Dr. Ashley can help. And right now, they have the big 47% special. In honor of the 47th President of the United States, they have 47% off non-surgical spinal decompression. It's a big deal. How does non-surgical spinal decompression work? The machine helps heal the disc by opening it up so the blood, the nutrition, the hydration gets in the area and heals the spinal disc and the nerve. Knee decompression works in a very similar fashion. This is non-invasive, does not involve surgery or cutting, does involve pain relief and healing, and that is what it's all about at the Wellness Institute of Nashville. Go online to painisbad.com for more information or give them a call and schedule that appointment today. I've made the switch to the Wellness Institute of Nashville, and I encourage you to do the same. 615-246-5009, 246-5009. My name is Matt Murphy, and the Wellness Institute of Nashville has my seal of approval. It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN 339. Thank you for being around. Your telephone calls always valuable. 615-737-9986. We open them up for the full 4 hours. You're always welcome to call. You might have to wait for a minute or two if we have a guest or if I've got something I have to get off my chest, but I promise I'll get to you. You're very important to me. 615-737-9986. You can also hit us up on the Super Text line. It's the exact same telephone number, and you're invited to do that as well. We'd love to hear your opinion on the matters of the day, to include the continuing saga of ICE and Tennessee Highway Patrol action in Nashville, in Antioch to be precise. There's no question why Antioch was selected. Obviously, Antioch was picked because there's a lot of criminal activity that goes on there. There's a belief that there is a lot of illegal alien activity that goes on there. However, the Tennessee Highway Patrol has assured us that in no way did they engage in any sort of racial profiling or ethnic profiling in terms of how they determined whom to stop. They stopped automobiles that were violating the law in some form or fashion. They had to have a reason to stop individuals, and upon those stops, they then attempted to ascertain who these folks were, and if it was determined that they were not in the United States of America, or at least they could not demonstrate that they were in the United States legally, the Tennessee Highway Patrol coordinated with Immigration and Customs Enforcement and handed off to that agency, and that federal agency dealt with some of those immigration issues. It is believed that they facilitated 84 arrests out of the 154 or 150 plus stops. And out of that 84 arrests, we don't know, or 84 detainments. Out of those 84 detainments, we do not know how many of those were detained for immigration reasons or illegal immigration reasons. So there you go. In a press conference that the mayor called this past Monday, the mayor laid out his concerns regarding these stops. And apparently, and once again, I did not hear it. I was out of pocket. But apparently Representative Afton Ben is confused about what gives the Tennessee Highway Patrol the authority or the ability to coordinate with ICE. I'm going to help Afton out. I hope she's still listening. It's not that hard, ma'am. You are a member of the General Assembly. You were a member of the General Assembly last year, were you not, Afton? Well, the bill, House Bill 2124, Senate Bill 2576, was passed in February of 2024. Summary of the bill as follows: requiring law enforcement agencies and officials to communicate with the appropriate federal official regarding the immigration status of any individual, including reporting knowledge that a particular alien is not lawfully present in the United States or otherwise cooperate with the appropriate federal official in the identification, apprehension, detention, and removal of aliens not lawfully present in the United States of America. That is House Bill 2124. That was passed in 2024 in the state of Tennessee. Current law authorizes law enforcement agencies and officials to communicate with the appropriate federal official regarding the immigration status of any individual. This legislation requires them to communicate with the appropriate federal official. According to the Tennessee Association of Chiefs of Police and the Tennessee Sheriff's Association, all law enforcement agencies that responded already communicate with federal officials about the immigration status of individuals. The proposed legislation provides that, quote, law enforcement agencies and officials shall otherwise cooperate with the appropriate federal official in the identification, apprehension, detention, and removal of aliens not lawfully present in the United States of America. What it sounds like to me is that after, by the way, someone just asked, and did you include Jeff Yarbrough on our list, Mr. Weber? Senator Jeff Yarbrough. Yes. Okay. So for the person out there asking me, and I forget who it was. Oh, yeah. 5718, your state Senator Jeff Yarbrough was on the email list. And no response from him either. So I don't know why exactly I have to do Afton's homework for her, but there it is. I mean, what it feels like to me, and I didn't hear the interview, and I'm sure Chad did a great job. But what it feels like to me is that Afton and other Democrats don't like the law. And they don't want the law to be the law. And so they have this misguided belief that because they don't like the law and they don't want the law to be what the law is, they can just pretend as if the law does not exist. Or they can ignore the law and that would make it go away. Neither of those things are so. The law is what the law is. And just as it was passed, you can unpass it. As I described yesterday, and I thought I did a pretty good job of it then, I'll do it again now. There's a simple way to accomplish this task. If you're Afton Ben, or if you're Jeff Yarbrough, or if you're Heidi Campbell, or J.R. Clemens, or Justin Jones, or whomever, present your case before the people of the state of Tennessee. Make the case in individual districts where there is currently a Republican serving. Win elections. And upon victory, change the law through the appropriate constitutional democratic process. For the love. Y'all run around screaming about how much y'all love democracy, and when democracy slaps y'all in the face, y'all don't seem to like it very much, do you? I've just, as my grandpa used to say it, I've just had a belly full of these Democrats that run around talking about how much they love democracy, and they don't seem to give a damn about democracy. Inasmuch as the democratic process, as you refer to it, we could call it representative representation or a representative republic. Sure, that's more precise. But the process, as you describe it, hasn't gone your way. And when it doesn't go your way, you seem to not care about ignoring it. You don't get to ignore the law just because you don't like what the law is. That's not the way it works. If you do, you accept the consequences of ignoring the law. One of the ways that the civil rights era, by the way, worked was because there were community leaders that understood that the laws were inherently unfair, and that if more people around the United States of America understood that, if they forced more people to face up to the unfair nature of the laws as they were written, that the laws would be changed. But they also understood that in the midst of identifying those laws and pushing their beliefs into the spotlight, that there would be consequences. They understood that. I mean, I did a deep dive in the history of the civil rights movement as it pertained to Birmingham, Alabama, when I lived there. And the people that took to the streets in Birmingham and eventually had, the police commissioner, Bull Connor, had the police turn the fire hoses on them to get them off the streets. They pushed that issue to get that optic, to get it on the national news. And they knew that they would get arrested as a result. There was a huge debate back in the day about whether or not to use the school children as pawns to accomplish that goal. Well, the point that I'm trying to make is they understood the consequences of their actions, but their point was to get it before the people so that they could use the democratic process to change the laws as they existed. And they eventually did. Friends, the laws on the books are not changing. They are what they are. And it seems to me that many Democrats in our local community have the basic belief, and I would beg of you, ask them this question when you see them, whether it's Yarborough, Campbell, or whomever it might be. Ask them the question, do you believe it should be against the law to come into the United States of America without the appropriate documentation? Yes or no? And if you don't believe in borders. You don't believe in the sovereignty of this country at that point. And it sounds to me like that's a hell of a lot of our Democrats in the city of Nashville, and maybe even in the surrounding communities. Democrats don't seem to believe that they have to follow the law if they don't like it. Well, what happens? Or they seem to believe that if the people that have broken the law have done it for a really, 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 really good reason, then the law shouldn't apply to them. Well, as I said yesterday, does that mean that if I convince you that I was really, really hungry when I stole the food, that you're just going to forgive me for stealing the food and tell me to go on about my merry way? Or that I really, 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 really needed to watch that football game, so that's why I stole the big screen TV? Or whatever it might be. Louis is next up in Millersville. Louis, thank you for the call. How are you, sir?
Doing great, Brian. How you doing, buddy?
I'm great, Louis. Thank you for asking.
Well, I just wanted to make a comment about old Crying Freddie. I don't understand his position that first off, Metro Police were nothing to do with this, had nothing to do with it. Metro had nothing to do with them getting the illegals off. It was all the Tennessee Highway Patrol and ICE. And they're supposed to have some big meeting about that. But I got a question for Crying Freddie. If he thinks that it's so bad to separate those families like they did, is the Metro Police Department going to arrest anybody and take them to jail and separate the families?
Well, of course not.
Freddie,
I mean, that's awful.
Is Freddie okay with that? Well, hey, Metro just needs to go around and wave at people. stop enforcing the law.
Almost, yeah. I mean, you bring up the excellent point that almost every time that anyone with the Metro Nashville Police Department arrests someone, they're separating families.
Exactly. So his point has no legitimacy. It's a pissing, moaning, crying fest is all he wants to do, and the rest of them Democrats. I'm so tired of hearing about it, and but I hope and pray they continue and get louder and louder, and maybe, just maybe, some of the brain-dead yo-yos in Metro will see it for what it is and vote their rear ends out instead of supporting them every freaking time an election comes up.
I love it, Louie. Louie, thank you for your call, and thank you for your common sense on this matter. I wish we had more of it amongst our elected officials. Oh, by the way, you don't get to come into the United States of America and settle in and stay here for a length of time and then run around screaming about asylum. If you have a legitimate asylum claim that deserves to be honored by the United States of America and you have documentation toward that asylum claim, I'm willing to hear that. And I think the Trump administration is willing to hear it as well. And you'll have an opportunity to present that in front of a judge when you get your, wait for it now, due process. Oh, yeah. What process are you due? Well, we bring you before a judge, and the judge ascertains whether or not you were here legally or not. And if you applied for and received approval of your asylum claim prior to coming into the United States of America or upon entry to the United States of America, then you ought to have documentation in that regard. And if you do have an asylum claim pending, that's fine. That's fine. So long as you've not violated the law in any other fashion, committed any other offenses, we'll have a conversation with you. I'm sympathetic to that. I'm not sympathetic to people who've been here 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years, and now that they've been apprehended by law enforcement, suddenly they're yelling about asylum from their home countries. That's a little bit too little too late. 52 after the hour, we're late on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Have you ever smelled that stunk? I'm talking about walking into an auto repair shop and smelling the smell. You know what I'm talking about? Old grease, old oil, rags lying around, countertop you wouldn't touch. I mean, another thing that stinks at these repair shops is the way that you get treated. They keep your car forever. They're not really honest with you. They don't call back when they say they're going to. Was that your last experience at an auto repair shop? Well, then you weren't at Eurofix. Friends, when you go to Eurofix, they take the stink out of European auto repair. At Eurofix, you get a free 15-minute no-wrench inspection, an estimate at every visit, never a high-pressure sales tactic. You get a 3-year nationwide warranty on your repair and a free loaner car while you wait. You never pay dealer prices either. At Eurofix, they have 5 separate locations to serve: Franklin, 100 Oaks, Murfreesboro, Belmead, and Mount Juliet. 844-EUROFIX is the number, 844-EUROFIX, or visit myeurofix.com. That's myeurofix.com. Tell Aaron and his team that Matt Murphy sent you to Eurofix.
No new pope yet. Tyree Nichols' verdict in, and the Tennessee Highway Patrol releasing more data from the ongoing coordinated traffic enforcement operation with ICE here in Nashville. All this and more at 4 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Thank you, Mr. Ken Weaver. We will address and have a conversation on this subject matter with our good friend, Representative Scott Sapicki. He's got some answers where our good friend, Representative Afton Ben, seemed to have a lot of questions regarding this. And in the interest of full disclosure, as I mentioned, and I love Chad, and Chad does a great job from noon until 3, I did not hear the conversation that Chad had with Afton. I was out of pocket, but many of you did. And there are some questions that she has addressed regarding asylum and Tennessee. And I already brought up House Bill 2124 that not only authorizes local law enforcement agency and officials to communicate with the appropriate federal officials. They already had that authority. It requires local law enforcement agencies and officials to communicate with the appropriate federal authorities. That's HB 2124. And that was passed in the 2024 General Assembly. But we will speak to our good friend, Representative Scott Sapicki, about these and other matters. Take your telephone calls as well if you have any questions on the subject. 615-737-9986. 615-737-9986. It's making national news now as ICE and the Tennessee Highway Patrol say, you know what, we got to clean up our streets with some of these criminal aliens. We'll continue doing that next after the news. It's 4 o'clock.
Four o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. No new pope yet. Voting to resume tomorrow after the vote today produced black smoke from the Sistine Chapel chimney of the Vatican. White smoke shows a new pope. They'll be voting again tomorrow. 3 former Memphis police officers have been acquitted of second-degree murder charges in the 2023 police beating death of Tyree Nichols, whom authorities say ran away from a traffic stop. Speaking outside the courthouse after the verdict, Memphis District Attorney Steve Mulroy said he disagrees with the outcome but respects the jury's decision.
Was I surprised that there wasn't a single guilty verdict on any of the counts or any of the lesser included offenses, given the overwhelming evidence that I think that we presented? Yes, I was surprised. Do I have an explanation for it? No.
Now, these officers still face lengthy prison sentences for federal convictions. Here in Nashville, Tennessee Highway Patrol releasing more data from the ongoing coordinated traffic enforcement operation with U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents. According to THP, troopers have made 369 traffic stops in the Nashville area over the last few days, and the following arrests for hazardous moving violations: 2 DUIs, 1 child endangerment arrest, 1 felony evading arrest, 2 drug arrests, 4 felony wanted persons arrested, and 1 motorist assist. Highway Patrol says no one has been racially profiled. Each traffic stop made due to observed hazardous moving violations, and immigration agents conducted their questioning of the individuals involved separately. Well, Democrats like Mayor Freddie O'Connell and some Metro Council members and even state lawmakers like Nashville State Rep Afton Ben, who tell WTN's Chad Benson show they don't like it.
If the Highway Patrol is able to conduct these enforcement and do the dirty work of the federal government, what is to stop them from expanding their authority further and coming after the rest of us?
Well, Governor Lee says his office was notified of this operation months ago, and the state is willing to help.
When they reached out to us, we were ready to coordinate with them. We are a willing partner because we want to remove dangerous people from the street.
And happening right now in downtown Nashville, Metro Council members meeting in a specially called emergency committee meeting to figure out next steps. And then coming up after traffic and weather, we have State Rep Scott Sapicki in with Matt Murphy, who has some answers to questions as well. The Real ID deadline is here, and senior TSA official Adam Stahl telling travelers,
get to the airport early, approximately 2 hours. If you do not have a Real ID, we suggest going even possibly earlier.
For those without a Real ID,
you could face delays at the checkpoint, and in extremely rare cases, if we can't confirm or validate your identity, possible denial.
And you can use other documents like a military ID or a passport. However,
Enroll as soon as you can, especially ahead of a busy travel season.
no word of any long lines at TSA today. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Weather can change in an instant, and you need to be prepared for any outcome. That's why Generator Supercenter of Nashville will help keep your family safe and connected. We make buying a backup generator simple and easy, with financing options available, free in-home estimate, turnkey installations, no worry warranty, and most importantly, the monitoring and service of your fully installed generator. Come see us at our location in Nashville or visit us online. Generator Supercenter of Nashville. We serve all Middle Tennessee.
All right, looks like my screen's still showing eastbound 24 there on the East Loop. Still got a crash reported by TDOT at exit 47. Then in Woodbine, police reporting a crash 440 eastbound before Nolensville Pike. Also a stalled vehicle blocking the left shoulder 440 westbound past Murphy Road. Sylvan Park, police reporting a crash 40 westbound past White Bridge Pike. Briley Parkway West. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, the Department of Safety and Homeland Security from the state of Tennessee has offered a statement, and I'm going to read some of that statement to you in just a moment. We will continue to break down the big story of the week, really, in our community, and that is the actions on the part of the Tennessee Highway Patrol and Immigration and Custom Enforcement, and as a result, the subsequent liberal response to those actions. Freddie O'Connell got his butt in gear. It's the let me tell you, I'm impressed. I mean, the mayor can't make a decision on license plate readers for the life of him. He can't figure out where he is on fuses for the life of him. I mean, he can't sign a deal with Bristol Motor Speedway regarding the fairgrounds, Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway for the life of him. I mean, but man, when it comes to raising taxes and protecting illegal aliens, he's all about it. And he is all about it. Called an emergency press conference earlier in the week. As a result of the multiple media requests, the Tennessee Department of Safety and Homeland Security issued a statement, and I'm holding said statement. And our next guest, Scott Sapicki, was nice enough to print me out a copy. I had one on my computer, but I thank you for this, Mr. Sapicki. Thank you so much. Hello, Scott, by the way.
How you doing?
Pretty good. How are you?
It's an interesting day.
We're going to have fun. I'm going to read a little of this because I think it's important that we kind of establish where they are on this, and we'll get some perspective from Representative Sapicki. If you have any questions or comments, thoughts, 615-737-9986. At the request of U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, the Tennessee Highway Patrol continues to support a coordinated public safety effort focused on traffic enforcement. THP's role is to observe driving behavior and conduct lawful stops based on violation of Tennessee traffic law. To date, preliminary results of this operation resulted in 369 stops for observed traffic violations. These include hazardous moving violations, 2 DUI arrests, 1 child endangerment arrest, 1 felony evading arrest, 2 drug arrests, 4 felony wanted persons, and 1 motorist assist. During the operation, ICE detained 94 individuals for further investigation and transport. According to ICE, this includes a convicted child sex predator, I should say, and a known Tren de Aragua gang member. Several other encounters involved suspected gang members, including Tren de Aragua affiliates, and led to the recovery of illegal drugs and firearms, taking dangerous elements off the street and making Tennessee safer. The memorandum continues. Troopers continue to follow Tennessee Code annotated 7-68-105. In cases where individuals were found to be in the country illegally, those matters were handled separately by ICE in accordance with federal law.
Matt, that's the bill you talked about.
Yeah, that's the
House bill.
House Bill 2124.
It's now Tennessee Code.
THP's role is to enforce Tennessee traffic laws fairly and consistently, and our troopers continue to make lawful stops based solely on traffic infractions in an effort to keep Tennesseans safe. We do not enter neighborhoods or stop vehicles based on who someone is. We stop based on what they do behind the wheel. During this operation, less than 10 troopers were assigned to the operation. THP enforced Tennessee traffic laws related to hazardous moving violations as we are required to do under state law. Immigration matters were handled separately by ICE under federal authority. That from the Department of Safety and Homeland Security. And with that, we welcome officially Scott Sapicki into the studio with us to talk about this matter. Just give me from 50,000 feet, your thoughts on all of this.
Well, I think what you're seeing is the Tennessee Highway Patrol doing the job that is tasked to them by the General Assembly and Tennessee Code annotated. I think they have partnered with ICE, working with the Trump administration to start to rid our communities of people that are here either undocumented or illegally, getting guns, drugs, DUI offenders off the streets, making our streets safer for those who are driving around and making sure our communities are safer. And then I see on the other side, I see my colleagues across the aisle are making false accusations and statements about what is really going on here. I see the mayor of Nashville looking like he's siding with the criminals who the Tennessee Highway Patrol and ICE are trying to remove from our streets and our communities. And so I've been listening to this argument since it's happened. And the one thing I want everybody to know is this initial interdiction, Matt, was a Saturday night starting at 10 p.m. and lasting till 5 in the morning.
Mm.
It wasn't during normal rush hour. It wasn't people going to church. It was at the time of the night when most of these DUIs and these offenses are taking place.
Where folks are either driving home from their activities of the evening, and if they're doing so legally, maybe they get a ticket, maybe they get a warning, and they go about their way.
Because the troopers had the discretion. Now, I also presented you information from the Tennessean that had a 3-month prior study looking at undocumented people in the state of Tennessee that were that were receiving some type of citation or ticket or committed a crime. And what the Tennessean has shown, Vivian Jones has shown, is that the main emphasis of all of this activity was in Davidson County. Davidson, now shocker there, Davidson County. Now, what were the people arrested for? Well, the majority of offenses, this is from the Tennessean article, The majority of offenses were driving infractions, the most common being DUI. I think we can all agree that we want to get people off the roads who are driving under the influence.
Obviously.
Or driving without a license, or traffic violations, or driving on a suspended or revoked license. I think these are all things that we want our law enforcement to do. So I seem, and I get hit with this all the time from my colleagues across the aisle. And you heard it from the mayor. Oh, well, the Republicans are gaslighting you. Well, let me tell you something. The Democrats right now are gaslighting the communities in the state of Tennessee, especially in Davidson County, that this was an operation that was set up to make sure that Tennessee Highway Patrol was doing their job. And the House bill that you mentioned in the report, TCA Code 768-105, requires law enforcement to notify ICE or federal authorities on someone that may be here undocumented.
So I want to step back to when this law was passed.
Yes.
During that time, there was a lot of frustration amongst our listening audience and amongst the state of Tennessee, our residents. And that frustration was primarily focused on the Biden administration and their refusal to do anything about what we recognized was the growing problem of illegal alien activity.
Correct.
And repeatedly, I would get asked the question, and I would answer it repeatedly. And people didn't like the answer. It was like, why doesn't the Tennessee Highway Patrol do more? Why doesn't the local sheriff's deputies do more? Why don't the local authorities do more? Well, you guys in the General Assembly gave them the ability, not just the ability, but authorized and required that they do more.
Correct.
But consistently I said, they get to a point where they have to hand these offenders, they can work the DUIs and they can work the traffic violations.
Correct.
They cannot work the immigration violations.
It's turned over.
They have to turn that over. And unfortunately, the American people, and we can talk about why all this happened in 2020.
Right.
But the guy that had the keys to that immigration kingdom wasn't doing anything with them.
That's correct.
He refused. And these immigration and customs enforcement agents were just as frustrated as anybody that they were not given the full authority to do what they could do. Now they are.
Correct.
And this is what it looks like when state officials and federal officials are acting in coordination with one another per the authority that they have to act on the offenses.
That's correct. They're using the data that is presented to them through the traffic stops, through the DUIs, to know which areas are heavy in these traffic violations. You look back at, and you talk about immigration, right? And we know this is a federal issue, but you go back and look at the data from Homeland Security and Border Patrol. In October of 24, there were 218,000 illegal crossings in October of 24. In March, it was down to 2,100. 2,100.
That's like less than 1%.
You can't even see it. It is incredible. So now we have the Trump administration has secured the border. We are closed for business when it comes to illegal immigration. Now we've put the resources of ICE and immigration to work in our cities where the Biden administration, remember the buses, remember the airplane rides, has distributed these individuals throughout the whole country.
Now, the folks like, I use Afton as an example because she was on with Chad today, but, our friends on the left, they want to deal with emotions. They want to talk about disruption of families and all of these types of things. When you get hit with this, how do you respond?
Well, I respond with the facts. I respond with what's happening in our communities, Matt. People want safe communities. You cannot have safe communities when you got Trende de Agua gang members walking around with guns, distributing drugs to our kids. We're fighting a battle here, Matt. Do you know that in the state of Tennessee, over the last 2 years, we've added over 200 state troopers to Tennessee for drug interdiction, human trafficking, sex trafficking, gang violence. This is a serious issue that we're trying to tackle, and to have people that come on this radio station or in the press and make flippant comments about our law enforcement agents.
You mentioned something, and you caught some of the conversation, and I'm not at all, I don't want anybody to think that I'm faulting Chad.
No.
Chad was bringing good information, but Afton said something. You said that she was talking about a mother and her kid.
Yeah. So if we all remember the context of these interdictions, it was from 10 p.m. on a Saturday night to 5 in the morning on a Sunday, and said that a mother and her children were pulled over and apprehended by THP on their way to school. What?
What?
Now,
where were they going to school?
I'm one of the chairman of education. If there's a K through 12 school open in Tennessee,
they deserve an award.
I'd like to know what they're doing.
They're getting
at
after
4
it.
in the morning.
So, Piggy, they're doing what you they're doing extra recess.
Yeah, tutoring. Tutoring.
I didn't even think about that.
No.
All of these wonderful folks are getting apprehended. I mean, and look, if you just got off work and you got okay, fine, that's all well and good, but it's still you got to have documentation.
If you did not violate the traffic laws, right? Nobody was pulling you over.
Right.
If you violated the traffic laws, the trooper was going to come up and say, here's what you did. I need your driver's license and registration. If you can't provide that, then another conversation happens. And if they find out through technology, we all have computers in the police cars now, if they find out that that person may not be here legally, they turn them over to ICE as per state law, and ICE handles the situation after that.
It's just at 20 minutes after the hour. Scott Sapicki is with us. If you have any thoughts or comments, I'd love to get you involved. 615-737-9986, 615-737-9986. Jason says they're probably on the way to Sunday school. Maybe so. maybe so. 1 o'clock in the morning, heading off to Sunday school. We'll be back in just a moment on Super Talk. Hello, friends. It's Matt Murphy, and let's talk for a moment about how you're sleeping. I sleep great at night. Thank you to the Tennessee Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solution Center. Dr. Brian McLaughlin and the rest of the team, they do a great job at assisting you at sleeping better. Dr. McLaughlin has taken over for Dr. Stephen Poss. He, for years, was the go-to guy for the oral appliance that helps you sleep better without a CPAP machine. If you have mild to moderate sleep apnea, or if you find yourself waking up a lot during the night, or if you snore a lot during the night, if you've not been diagnosed, take a sleep test to find out if sleep apnea is a part of your sleep cycle. If it is, calm down, because everything's going to be fine with Dr. Brian McLaughlin and this incredible oral appliance that they provide you. You don't have to worry about a CPAP machine. I could not have worn a CPAP machine, but I can wear this appliance. I put it in at night. I sleep better. The airway stays open. You breathe better. It's FDA approved and clinically proven. Their treatment is for folks who can't tolerate wearing a CPAP. Go to TennesseeSleep.com. That's TennesseeSleep.com to find out more information and schedule an appointment with Dr. McLaughlin today at the Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solution Center.
No Pope yet. 3 former Memphis police officers acquitted, and we have an answer for anyone questioning what the Highway Patrol is doing in coordination with ICE during these traffic enforcement operations in Nashville. We'll tell you about it at 4:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, so Scott Sapicki is not just a guest. He's a friend of the show. And as a friend of the show, he has to prepare his own headphones. That's what you get when we like you. And thankfully, Sapicki has done so because I failed in my job.
No, you're good.
So we've got a couple of folks on the line. If you have any questions of our representative, Scott Sapicki, and of the Matt Murphy Show, by all means, present those. I've got a couple of folks asking some questions on the super text line. We'll get to those in a minute as well. I do want to remind everybody, if you want to see our man in person, you can see Representative Sapicki along with Senator Joey Hensley, Senator Jack Johnson, Representative Gino Bolso, Representative Jake McCalman, and Representative Lee Reeves. Man, we get like 2 or 3 more. We have a quorum.
Oh, be careful.
You know? That is this Saturday. I will be the, as they say, master of ceremonies at the legislative wrap-up Saturday at 8:30 in the morning at Big Bad Breakfast in Spring Hill. Mm-hmm. Don't confuse the Big Bad Breakfast in Franklin with the one in Spring Hill. We're in Spring Hill. Type in Big Bad Breakfast Spring Hill. Be there early, about 8:30. Have some breakfast. It is sponsored by AFP, Americans for Prosperity, and 6 different representatives / senators will be there. I will say one thing and get out of the way. My one thing will be like, how'd you think the session went? And then let y'all roll. But I'm excited about it. Some good breakfast, some good fellowship, sure. And should be a big time. Sure. So let's talk about the negative impact real quick before we get to calls. Our friends on the left want to talk about, how negative this is for families, family separation. Every time somebody breaks the law and they get arrested as a result, there's a family separation. That's no reason not to follow the law.
Correct.
But they rarely talk about the cost on the Tennessean taxpayer for individuals to be here illegally. And I know you've got some data on that.
I do. I'm going to give everybody indigestion here right now, so I apologize. So we have a report here that you have a copy of from the Tennessee District Attorney General's Conference in 2024. It's the immigration report in 2024 of where we are. This is 4 years of the Biden administration of where we are in Tennessee. Average cost to Tennesseans per illegal alien here in the state of Tennessee, $4,456. 2,719 reports of illegals charged with crimes in Tennessee, including 11 homicides from just October 1st to December 31st of 2024, 3 months. 3 months. 971 million total cost of illegal aliens to Tennessee in 2023 alone.
It's almost $1 billion.
$1 billion. And then 17,713. Now, this is one that's very troubling to me. Unaccompanied alien children taken into custody and released to a sponsor in Tennessee between 21 and 24. That's the Biden administration saying, who wants to claim this child? And Matt Murphy comes and says, I'll take him. And then that's the last we hear of him.
And we don't know who those people are, what they want with these kids, what they're doing with these kids.
And that's why we have the Tennessee Highway Patrol with 200 plus more troopers looking for the human trafficking going on in Tennessee.
I mean, so there is a monetary and there is a human cost to all of this.
Yes.
And, you and I were talking off air, and before we get to some of these calls, I want to address this side of it because I understand that this situation has gone on a lot longer than the last 3 or 4 or 5 years, a lot longer than the Biden administration. Do you agree, and I think you do, with my analogy that, I talked about the leaves and as they compact and you got to get down and you got to deal with the situation. At some point, you got to figure out what you're going to leave alone, what has become kind of embedded in the soil. Right now, we're in the beginning stages. We've gotten the border, relatively speaking, secure, thanks to the Trump administration. And now we're finding those elements amongst illegal aliens, not even those that have been here a long, long time, that have embedded themselves into the communities, that aren't violating any other laws. We're talking about individuals that are criminal lawbreakers beyond their illegal status.
Correct.
That's what we're dealing with, in my opinion, right now.
That's correct. We first of all, we all have to acknowledge that coming across the border illegally is illegal. That's the first thing. So you've committed a crime
100%.
right there. Number 2 is, are you coming here to work and disappear and just work, right? Or are you coming here to do other things of nefarious intentions? And that's what the THP is telling us, is they're arresting people that are here undocumented and they have guns or they have drugs. Well, let me tell you something. The guns and the drugs are not necessarily for them. They could be for other people.
And why wouldn't our good friend Freddie O'Connell, the mayor of Nashville, applaud getting illegal guns off the... I thought he didn't like illegal guns.
Matt, I don't get it, right? Why would you want those in your communities? Why would anybody want those in your communities? People that are doing bad things with guns, that are selling drugs, that are trafficking people. Why in the world, Freddie, would you want those people in your city?
Well, one of these individuals that was arrested as a Tren de Aragua gang member. One was a convicted child sex predator. And I directly asked Freddie O'Connell on the X machine, are these the type of people you're heartbroken over? Or are those okay? Or is it everybody? I mean, and of course, no response. Thomas and Ray, we'll get to you in a moment. Sorry about that, Sapicki. I got to run over to Ken Weaver real quick. Scott Sapicki's with us for another good segment. We'll get to all of your questions coming up in a moment on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories, tracking the potential for severe weather over the next 24 hours or so. Tell you more about it during the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. No pope yet, at least no new pope yet. Cardinals will vote again tomorrow over at the Vatican. Then here in Tennessee, 3 former Memphis police officers have been acquitted of all state charges in connection to the 2023 fatal beating of Tyree Nichols. Speaking outside the courthouse after the verdict, Memphis District Attorney Steve Mulroy says he disagrees with the outcome but respects the jury.
Yes, I was surprised. Do I have an explanation for it? No.
All 3 former officers still face lengthy prison sentences for federal convictions in the Nichols case. Here in Nashville, Democrats like Mayor Freddie O'Connell and Metro Council members and state lawmakers are suggesting the Highway Patrol's ongoing coordinated traffic safety enforcement with Immigration and Customs Enforcement detaining undocumented people is harming families, violating their rights. But the operation is supported by state law, as Culleoka Republican State Rep Scott Sapicki explains on WTN's Matt Murphy Show.
This was an operation that was set up to make sure that Tennessee Highway Patrol was doing their job. And the House bill that you mentioned in the report, TCA Code 768-105, requires law enforcement to notify ICE or federal authorities on someone that may be here undocumented.
Governor Lee says the operation was planned months ago, and the state's doing its part to remove whom he says are dangerous people from Tennessee. On to something else. Another example at Yellowstone National Park that it's not smart getting too close to wildlife.
A 47-year-old man from Florida is recovering after a trip to Yellowstone National Park. Park rangers say he got too close to a bison and he was gored. He had apparently approached the bison and then received minor injuries. He was treated by emergency workers in the park. An investigation has been opened into how it unfolded. The park says it's the first reported incident of a person injured by a bison in 2025. There were 2 last year, and the warnings are the bison will defend their space, and all visitors must stay at least 25 feet away from bison. Alex Stone, ABC News.
That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. All right, I don't see any crashes in the way on the interstates. There is one that is being cleared right now, 65 southbound at Armory Drive. Other than that, we just have the usual brake tapping going away, particularly heavy if you are eastbound the South Loop downtown, then northbound 65 between 440 and the South Loop downtown. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hello, friends. It's Matt Murphy for Grace Point Healthcare. Grace Point Healthcare is about the doctor-patient relationship. That is the bottom line. Grace Point Healthcare will never allow an insurance company to get into the way of that relationship, and that's happening all too often. I'm not here to cast aspersions at the other guys, but here's the deal. When insurance companies are telling doctors that doctors can't prescribe specific treatments because, well, the insurance company doesn't want them to, that's a problem. If you have that interdiction in your relationship with your doctor, might I recommend you go to Grace Point Healthcare? They are a direct pay primary care provider. It means all treatment decisions are made between you and the doctor and their medical staff. Secondarily, you can enroll in the Smart Care plan where you know you're getting exceptional care at a very affordable price. $69 a month gets you unlimited office visits throughout the course of the year at Grace Point Healthcare, plus free basic labs and diagnostic testing. At Grace Point, you don't have to sign up for that plan in order to go in and get treatment today or tomorrow. Oftentimes, it's the same day that you will receive treatment. No long wait times. At Grace Point Healthcare, they believe in treating naturally whenever possible. In the heart of Franklin, give them a call at 599-6868. That's 599-6868. You really can't afford exceptional health care at your convenience. Grace Point Healthcare, they are modern medicine delivered the old-fashioned way. Hello, friends. It's Matt Murphy, and Safe House is your one-stop shop for all things safety in this community. We've been talking about crime for a minute with Scott Sapicki. We've been talking about crime and punishment, but what about your personal safety and the safety of your family? Have you thought about a safe? A safe protects those things that protect your family. You know what I'm talking about? Gun safes galore at Nashville Safe House. As a matter of fact, safes galore. Whether it's a gun safe or a corporate safe, a jewelry safe, whatever it might be that you're looking for, if it's valuable materials or items that protect your family, you can get it at Nashville Safe House. All brands, all shapes, all models. Fort Knox, Champion, Superior, Rhino, all available at Nashville Safe House. Plus, their professional delivery crew will deliver your safe, and you don't have to worry about some third-party crackheads delivering that safe. No. Always professional, and they always work for Nashville Safe House. Remember, gun safes are sales tax-free at Nashville Safe House. Go to NashvilleSafeHouse.com. That's NashvilleSafeHouse.com. Go see Mark and his team, 4th Avenue South in Nashville. $26.60. For the love of God, stop saying cast aspersions. Okay. I will. Just for you, $26.60. I was going to say it a lot, but I'm not going to say it anymore. 38 minutes after the hour, and if you'd like to get your comments in, you can do so via the super text line or the phone lines. Scott Sapicki is our man on the scene, talking about the latest activities regarding immigration and customs enforcement and the Tennessee Highway Patrol. Before we, I promised we'd get to Thomas and Ray and some other questions, but the General Assembly took action. We mentioned this bill that you guys passed last year, or I guess 2024, that gives not only the ability, because local authorities always have the ability to communicate with the federal authorities. Mm-hmm. This creates a requirement that if you see individuals here illegally, you contact the appropriate federal authorities.
Correct.
And now, thankfully, those federal authorities are under the umbrella of the Trump administration, and they're actually doing something.
With the people that we refer.
What else has the General Assembly done with regard to illegal immigration?
Well, first of all, we enhanced state-issued identification standards to distinguish between a citizen and a non-citizen, so that they're going to have to take different driver's licenses. We strengthened sanctuary city ban by imposing now a Class E felony charge on local officials who adopt or maintain sanctuary city policies in violation of state law. That was House Bill 6001. So, Freddie, if you're listening, be careful about issuing the word sanctuary. Created a felony.
He has been, by the way.
Very careful.
He's towed the line. I've noticed that.
Created a felony offense for smuggling and trafficking illegal immigrants. Increased accountability for organizations housing criminal illegal immigrants, and then invalidated out-of-state driver's licenses issued to illegals. We're serious about this.
Speaking, and I'm being serious when I ask you this. You got your real ID yet?
No, I have a passport.
Oh, so you'll use that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
I have a passport.
I mean, I have a passport too, but I have a real ID. I got one when
Really?
Well, why not?
They gave it to you?
Oh, yeah.
From Alabama?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Our standards must be lowering.
Well, that was a few years ago. I think y'all have probably strengthened them
Alabama and a Georgia fan. Wow.
I know.
The worst of both worlds.
I can't imagine why they're letting me stay here. Thomas is next with a question about illegal cost. Hello, Thomas. Welcome in.
Hey, appreciate you and what y'all doing.
Yes, sir.
Hey, my question is, the judges, the ones that got moved over to the other country and brought back for due process, and the illegals that have accidents with criminal homicide, don't they get a lawyer, and who in the heck's paying for it, and why do they have due process?
Why do illegals have due process?
Yeah.
Because of the 14th Amendment and the 5th Amendment.
Correct.
The 14th, just read the 14th, Thomas. It should answer your question. So the 14th Amendment applies to all persons in the United States of America, not all citizens.
Correct.
And they use that language, on purpose.
That was looked at by the Supreme Court.
And by the way, Thomas, to understand something, the due process that is owed to an American citizen is not the same.
It's different.
Right? The key word when you talk about due process is due. What process is due?
Oh.
You know what I mean? And here's what we're talking about, Thomas. You know what due process really is? Are you here legally? Did you come legally? And if the answer to that is no, the next question is going to be about where you came from, because that's where we're going to send you back.
But if they bring them back over, the courts has to come back over to go on trial to find out and prove they're innocent.
There's no trial. What trial?
Well, I don't mean trial. I mean for them to say whether or not they're, illegal or not.
Now, they get their hearing on the front end, Thomas.
Very quickly.
And there is no appeal.
Oh, okay.
And then you get the bus ride over the border.
Right.
All right. Well, appreciate what y'all doing.
Well, absolutely. No, I appreciate you. As far as costs go, we're monitoring the city of Nashville because I'm just there's a lot of private organizations that have thrown money around in terms of offering legal defense. That is their right. I mean, that's a matter of your freedom of speech, freedom of expression. Money amounts to that. But I'm watching Nashville because I don't want any of these tax dollars, because Freddie was asked that question about whether the city was going to give money to some of these funds that are available to individuals. And look, these individuals, you can have your hearing, you have your due process, that's fine. But our tax dollars shouldn't be going toward that.
Well, when you have data from the Biden administration that you came across the border illegally, and they have already admitted that you're across the border illegally, and they have that documented, there's your court. I mean, the Biden administration through ICE and immigration has already realized that this person's here illegally, but they let them go. Well, guess what? We are rounding them back up and saying you have to go back across the border, and there's a process. Now, you've talked about earlier, that process probably needs to be looked at and made more efficiently, so that people don't have to spend years waiting to come in who want to contribute to our society. We have to look at that. But that's a federal issue with the senators and the congressmen that they need to address that. Our job is to make our streets safer.
Well, and we're moving the ball forward in terms of what I think the process has to be, right? You gotta protect your borders first and foremost. And for those Johnny-come-latelys that have been here just a short amount of time, that are committing acts against our laws, we need to get those folks out of here and get them back to their countries of origin immediately. Do they have a hearing? Sure, they'll have a hearing. But those, it's funny. We talk about due process, and that's why I mentioned this to Thomas. Due process means, well, what is due to you? Well, I'm accusing you of coming into the country not having appropriate documentation. So if you can't demonstrate to me that you have appropriate documentation, then you're going to get a hearing in front of a judge. The judge is going to find out if you have appropriate documentation, and that can involve asylum claim. There's a lot of different ways that you can stay here. But if you don't have it, then you go home.
Go home.
That's your due process.
And then start the process again and come back.
That's right. Ray is next up in Lynchburg. Ray, thank you for your call. How are you?
Fine, sir. How you doing?
Doing great, Ray.
I love the gentleman you got on your show today.
Well, that makes one of us, Ray. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Well, I'm just trying to stay away from you being a Georgia fan.
Forgive me. That's proof that not everybody's perfect, Ray.
There you go. I want to personally, and from my friends and family, thank the Tennessee Highway Patrol in doing their job.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope all the police departments and sheriff's departments throughout the state would do the same thing. They have to have this and they have to that. Well, what about all the people they've killed by
fentanyl?
Fentanyl and murder. But fortunately, we live in a state that, and I'm proud to be one, bunch of rednecks. So, you don't want to mess with a bunch of rednecks. So
I agree with you there. We're all rednecks, Ray.
Yeah, I know. I love it. I'm proud of it.
Ray, thank you. I don't think Sapicki's a redneck, but we're going to get him one of these days.
Yeah. We'll give him an honorary.
Honorary.
You know, Ray, that's pretty good. You know what, Sapicki, the day that you get honorary redneck status,
I've arrived.
You've arrived in Tennessee, baby.
Tennessee.
You've arrived. John in Lawrenceburg, by the way, who is one of my best listeners.
Can I stop you real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
So one of the things we did this year, Matt, was to help with the cost of local law enforcement dealing with these illegal, undocumented people here. Was there's cost associated with this of detaining them at the local level.
Mm-hmm.
We provided grants to the local law enforcement to be able to pull down to help offset those costs. So we recognize that there's costs to be shared across the state of Tennessee, but we're trying to use the funds from the General Assembly to make that happen.
So something you said, and I've referenced 2124, the law that creates that requirement. Someone asked, and I've lost the question, but I have the spirit of it. So the mayor, Freddie O'Connell, and many of our leftist Metro councilors are out here, and they want everybody to know no Metro Nashville police officers were involved in any of this. And I get that. But does this law not create a requirement that the Metro Nashville police, when they encounter an individual that they determine to be in the country illegally, that they contact the federal authorities?
It is state law, period.
So if they're not doing that, if they're actively not doing that, then they're violating state law.
That's correct.
That's something that Freddie ought to look at as well.
This all started even before that law was enacted. Remember, we put Tennessee Homeland Security agents in every county. And the reason why was to link everybody together. All of the documents, TBI's information. Remember, we had the issues with the rape kits, right? Not getting done and that information being shared. Homeland Security of Tennessee, not federal Homeland Security, but Homeland of Tennessee is supposed to liaison between all the different law enforcement agencies to share information.
Right.
So when someone pulls somebody over in Dyersburg, they can access the information that this person might have been arrested in Nashville. To create destroy those boundaries and make sure that everybody's sharing information, because the border has come to Tennessee. And now we're trying to fix it.
Well, and that is, I'm sorry, guys, to interject, but
it felt like God chiming in there.
But I mean, I think that what this is showing me is that this very careful effort by the mayor's office to try to show that Metro officers were in no way involved in these detainments, because if they were, then that possibly puts them at odds with the state law.
Right. If they admit that they
do
encounter illegal aliens and they don't do anything with those encounters, then they are in violation of state law.
Right. TCA code 768105.
So what I want to know is, does Chief John Drake or does somewhere in the mayor's office, are the Metro Nashville Police getting some sort of interaction marching orders in terms of how they interact with individuals that they pull over? Are they told not to ask certain questions so as not to involve themselves with the possibility of having to turn someone over, or to be it, or are they? So
how about this question? How about this? Chief Drake, the Tennessean, had this article came out that talked about the problems in Davidson County. Are you willing to partner with ICE agents with your department and do these interventions across the state, across the city?
I think it's a legitimate question.
Are you willing to do it? Because if you are, ICE will help your officers.
How do Metro Nashville police officers interact with individuals in such a way where they ascertain who they are, what their identity is, without, I mean, if their goal is to not interact in such a way where they would be required to turn these people over to ICE, I want to know how that works.
Then maybe that's why there's people here that shouldn't be here with guns and drugs.
Maybe so.
Maybe that's the answer.
Maybe so.
And our THP has done the interventions and interdictions to find those individuals that maybe somebody's being told not to worry about.
Sally says what we need is a Judge Dredd Border Patrol and State Troopers. Well, I mean, yeah, Sally, I don't, I wouldn't suggest that we need judge and jury and executioner on the streets. I mean, that's what a judge in good standing's for. That's why, I mean, and that's one of the reasons why, if you're pulled over and someone wants your documentation, you don't have any, but you say, no, well, I've got an asylum claim pending. Okay. Well, a judge is going to figure that out.
Well, that'll also be in the computer that they can access immediately and say, oh, yes, you're right.
And in some cases, you might be allowed to go on your merry way if they can document that on the scene.
And by the way, if THP comes up to your car for a traffic stop and you say license and registration and you give them that and they come back and say, thank you very much, have a nice day, consider it a lucky day. Or they can write you a warning or they can write you a citation.
Right.
They don't have to do that. They
have discretion.
They use their discretion.
All right, more coming up in just a moment. 52 after the hour. We'll have Scott Spicky till the end of the hour at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hi, friends. It's Matt Murphy talking about your health insurance. Now, I don't know what your current situation is. Maybe it's great. Maybe you don't know. If you don't know the answer to certain questions, like how much you're paying on a monthly basis, or if you're getting the health insurance that you deserve, it's time to call Shane Ring and Cover Nash. Cover Nash wants you to know how much you spend and how much you overspend on coverage. Shane is not a call center. He's not, he's a local guy. He's right there in Brentwood. You can go to his office, sit down with him. He'll show you the health coverage plans that are available to you, and he has access to every plan on the market today. He does not work for an insurance company. He works for you. You are his customer. Cover Nash wants you to be informed about that health coverage, and don't wait until open enrollment. If you've been told you have to do that, it is not true, friends. Call Shane Ring and let him get a health plan that pays you, not the other way around. Don't get taken advantage of, and don't allow the government to make these decisions for you. Let's manage our insurance ourselves. Go to covernash.com. That's covernash.com or 615-465-0023. 465-0023 for Cover Nash.
No new pope. 3 former Memphis police officers acquitted in the Tyree Nichols death state case. State Rep Scott Sapicki setting the record straight on the coordinated traffic enforcement operation between Tennessee state troopers and ICE. All this and more coming up at 5 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Now, we're going to address this this decision that has come down. It was a Chattanooga jury dealing with the Memphis case involving 3 police officers that were charged with abusing their responsibilities and beating Tyree Nichols, and I believe they've been found not guilty. I'm gonna give you the details on that as I see it. We've been dealing with the issues involving Nashville and some of these stops engaged by the Tennessee Highway Patrol. I think I can slide one more in here. Jim is in Murfreesboro. Jim, you're on with Scott Sapicki and Matt Murphy. Hello.
Hello. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you.
Good.
Thank you for your service. I appreciate your radio show.
Thank you.
Nashville, Tennessee has a catch and release program basically when it comes to arresting people. I know 2 officers from Nashville, and one of them quit the force because they made doing their job entirely too difficult. They would arrest people, bring them in, and then get in trouble for arresting people for breaking the law and making their job impossible to do. And I don't see how more police stations in Nashville is going to improve that. If they let the police officers do their job, crime would go way down in Nashville. But they do not.
It brings up an excellent point that Scott and I were talking about just before we came back, Jim, and I'm time limited. I apologize for interrupting you, but I wonder where Chief John Drake is on all this. Honestly.
Like I said, I'm sure ICE Immigration would be happy to work with Chief Drake and do it right along with his officers and doing interdictions, because the Attorney General's conference said the main issue is Davidson County.
Because what I hear politicians like Freddie O'Connell telling us, hey, there's no Metro Nashville police officers involved in this. My question is, why not?
Why not?
Why aren't they involved? I mean, explain to me why the Metro Nashville police would not be involved in communicating with ICE if they discover an illegal alien on the streets of Nashville, Tennessee.
That might have guns or drugs.
That might have guns or drugs, or engaged in some other
Tren de Aragua, gang
criminal
violence.
activity. Great stuff, Scott. Thank
pleasure.
you. Look, Scott and I are talking about education, General Assembly stuff. This is good stuff, and I appreciate the information that you provided this hour.
There you go.
There's Scott Sapicki, everybody. Cameron Smith coming up next as we're at halftime of the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It's 5 o'clock. Let's go.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Right now in Italy, no new pope yet. Cardinals voted earlier. Black smoke emitted from the Sistine Chapel chimney, indicating that they're going to have to keep voting. They'll start tomorrow. Here in Tennessee, 3 former Memphis police officers acquitted of all charges in state court today in connection to the fatal beating of Tyree Nichols in 2023. Memphis District Attorney Steve Mulroy says he believes prosecutors presented overwhelming evidence in the case.
Strongly disagree with the jury's verdict, but we nonetheless respect the jury.
This was the state case. All 3 former police officers still face possible prison sentences for felony convictions. And right now in Nashville, Democrats, including the mayor, members of the Metro Council, and state lawmakers suggesting the coordinated traffic enforcement operation between the Tennessee Highway Patrol and Immigration and Customs Enforcement is violating people's rights. But Culleoka Republican State Rep Scott Sapicki tells WTN's Matt Murphy local law enforcement is required to notify ICE of potential undocumented people.
If you did not violate the traffic laws, right, nobody was pulling you over.
Right.
If you violated the traffic laws, the trooper was going to come up and say, here's what you did. I need your driver's license and registration. If you can't provide that, then another conversation happens. And if they find out through technology, we all have computers in the police cars now, if they find out that that person may not be here legally, they turn them over to ICE as per state law, and ICE handles the situation after that.
According to THP, troopers have made 369 traffic stops in the Nashville area over the last few days and made some arrests after hazardous moving violations such as 2 DUIs, 1 child endangerment, a felony evading arrest, 2 drug arrests, 4 felony wanted persons, and 1 motorist assist. Each traffic stop, Highway Patrol says, was made due to observed hazardous moving violations, and immigration agents conducted their questioning of the individuals involved separately. Well, it's day 1 of requirements for real IDs at airport security checkpoints across the country, and so far, so good.
Nobody knew how the first day of real ID requirements would go, how many people would show up at airports without acceptable forms of ID. But at LAX, there have been no long security lines, and Federal Security Director Jason Pantages says it's been smooth.
Today's gone extremely well here at LAX. We've had 0 operational impacts. There's been no excessive wait times. It's really been business as usual.
Those who don't have an acceptable form of ID have been sent to a separate line to have their identification confirmed by other means. Alex Stone, ABC News,
Money
Los
News.
Angeles.
Oh, sorry about that, Alex. Money News. The Federal Reserve announcing today it kept the preferred interest rate at the target range of 4.25 to 4.5%, noted rising risks of higher unemployment and higher inflation due to tariffs. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. All right, Clarksville Highway Patrol reporting a crash 24 westbound right before MLK Parkway. Then in Sylvan Park, police say there's a crash 40 westbound just past White Bridge Pike, Briley Parkway West. That's exit 204. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. This is Matt Murphy, and this is the Matt Murphy Radio Show because they named it after me. Hello, good afternoon, welcome. Chris Webber. It could be called the Chris Webber Show, as much work as he puts into it versus me.
Who, me?
Yes, you. But we don't call it that. He's behind the glass, making sure that everything that comes out of our speaker sounds as good as humanly possible. Normally, we say, oh, he's back. I saw his head pop up. There's Ken Weaver.
Oh, I'm back.
We're halfway home, fellas.
Yes, sir.
I mean, official. Halfway home for the day, halfway home for the week.
Nice.
Nobody's beating me today in Ninkoops. And I mean nobody.
Ooh, he's talking to you, Smith. I think he's talking to you, Cameron Smith. He knows it's Wednesday. He knows the competition gets ratcheted up on these Wednesdays.
It's a challenge. It's a challenge for sure.
I'll tell you what. I got people sending me Ninkoop's.
Yeah.
In the off times.
I had a listener send me one, man. I just cannot use it, though.
Oh, is that too
It's just too bad, man.
Sometimes they send the death. I get uncomfortable with the death nincompoop. And I know occasionally we do a nincompoop that involves death.
Yeah.
But I try to stay away from the death nincompoops.
That's fair.
You know?
And anything that Jason sends you, it's just going to be inappropriate.
Let me tell you, you learn pretty quickly in this job when you got the old super text line rolling, and sometimes you just start rolling through those super texts, just rolling through them. When you see the name Jason, you better, that's a big stop sign right there.
Yep.
Better pre-read that bad boy.
You're going to get fined if you share that. Thank you, Jason.
The old FCC. Cameron's with us for the better part of the rest of the show. We've got Ninkoopoops, as Ken Weaver mentioned, coming up at 5:36 or thereabouts. It's day 108 of the Trump administration out of 1,460.5 days, and I'll die on that hill. I'll die on that hill.
0.5?
Yeah, somebody said, well, there's technically 1,461 because of leap year. And I said, yeah, but they get sworn in halfway through the day.
That's true.
Right? And they said, but I don't want to hear any yeah buts. I'm sticking with that story. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it whether I'm wrong or not.
Fair.
I'll die on that hill. It's day 805 of our gathering together. So I don't have a lot of details on this, but if I told you that the officers involved, remember Tyree Nichols out of Memphis?
Yep.
That trial was moved. Because and for those that don't understand why the trial was moved, allow me to try to explain. A change of venue in a trial that has gotten a lot of attention, like the Tyree Nichols trial, is done not to protect those who are accused, but to protect the judicial system more broadly and to offer them a fair trial. If it is believed that the individual is accused, it is up to the state to demonstrate the guilt of the individuals accused in a criminal proceeding. And if it is believed that, generally speaking, that the individuals accused cannot get a fair and impartial trial based on the jury pool available, then the defense can ask for a change of venue. How does it work? I guess the defense has to ask, or they don't have to, but that's typically where it comes from. And in this case, the defense asked for a change of venue, and a change of venue was granted. Out of that trial, I think we got some not guilty verdicts. Is that right, Ken?
What's that, brother?
The three officers were found not guilty?
Yeah, found not guilty of second-degree murder.
Acquitted of all state charges.
Of all state charges.
Okay.
But they were convicted of lesser federal charges, so they could still face some prison time for that.
It's a little bit of a surprise from me. I was not in court, and I've not been following very closely the nature of that trial, but I would say that I see this headline, and I'm a little bit surprised considering what I saw on video.
Yeah.
And that's what I will say. I don't know what's going to happen in Chattanooga or in Memphis tonight, but typically a lot of emotions run high when police officers are found not guilty of charges against them, regardless of the circumstances. So let's hope that cool heads prevail in those affected communities, particularly in Memphis. What's on your radar screen?
As we had discussed earlier, dolls have been just all the rage. Also, my boys.
What?
Dolls.
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 I thought you said dolls.
Yes, dolls.
Dolls. Dolls.
Like American Girl.
Yeah, because Donald Trump said you can have fewer dolls.
Yes, and I don't know why we keep engaging in all of these hypotheticals about all the bad things that will happen. I would encourage us to maybe deal with the bad things that are happening, not these hypothetical things that are out there in media land, because they're bored and ultimately want to be outraged about a thing. And so Trump isn't helping himself by being the billionaire saying, how many dolls can you actually need? Like, you just need to tell your kids that they need to be better Americans, like that kind of thing. But nobody's missing any dolls. There is no doll issue right now, and there may not be an issue, but these are all anticipatory problems, and that's what we're doing.
Well, the media has a habit of, if they can't figure out what the Trump ding of the day is, or the Trump dig of the day, then they try to make something up. And I don't.
Yeah.
And they got to get out of it. They're doing a little bit of a better job, and I'm not giving them any credit for this, but I do think that it's better than it was the first term. The first term, it was disgusting. Every day it was, oh, we need to invoke the 25th Amendment because this man's clearly crazy, and he's obviously in bed with Vladimir Putin because certain people that is uncorroborated say. I mean, it was just awful. Now, at least we're doing more policy-based stuff, but it's almost wishful thinking on their part that it was impacting the American economy more dramatically, his tariff talk, because they're not getting they're telling Americans how awful it's going to be, but America's not responding to that. America responds to what's going on at the grocery store and at the department store.
Yep.
And because Americans aren't seeing that, they're not freaking out about it. And so they're now kind of trying to double down on it seems, and asking Donald Trump, well, what about Christmas?
Yeah.
What about
so
Christmas?
Here's the deal. If that happens at Christmas,
then it's a problem.
It's a big dang problem. So my recommendation to the Trump administration would be like, you got a window to operate here. Do what you're going to do. Make your deals. Do your thing. And then move forward, because you think the hand-wringing is annoying right now. Just wait till it actually happens, and then, whoa, then the political consequences are going to be real fast.
I think Jason, the aforementioned Jason, agrees with Donald Trump. He doesn't believe. I mean, how many blow-up dolls, he asks, does one man need, Cameron?
Well, Jason has several. That would be my guess. 3 to 5. I mean, how many days?
3 to 5?
7 days of the week? I mean, probably no more than 7.
They don't make Sunday.
There's no Sunday doll?
There's no Sunday.
But I'm sure there is definitely a China doll.
Remember that? Remember that from When Harry Met Sally? She had the days of the week underpants. And she broke up with the guy because he got mad because he wanted to know where Sunday was, and she told him, and he didn't believe her. And he goes, well, where was Sunday? They don't make Sunday. Why don't they make Sunday? Because of God. I love that. That was a great movie. Sorry, I'm just getting distracted. You were saying something serious, Cameron?
No. All right. It's all just deeply unserious right now, just to be honest.
Well, look, so back on the serious subject matter of tariffs.
Mm-hmm.
The issue here, I don't believe, is necessarily in the plans that Donald Trump has. I think Donald Trump's being intentionally obtuse publicly, because he wants to keep those people that he wants to get to the negotiation table a little unsure of what the hell he's going to do. He's trying to play a little bit of cowboy here.
Oh, he's doing a good job of that.
And he's doing a good job of that. If I give him credit for doing that, he's doing that well.
Yes.
Some would not. I feel like maybe some in this room would not,
Maybe.
But whatever. What he does not control are exterior circumstances that could screw up that game plan.
Yes.
Because what you do need to see in the coming weeks, maybe not even months, you need to see a couple of these trade deals come to fruition.
Lock it down.
And we need, as we see these trade deals come to fruition, I think there's going to be more comfort amongst the general population that all of this is going to happen with the angle of letting China just, slowly get these trade deals done and let China dangle out there and let China be somewhat of the outlier. Well, what happened in Pakistan and India is not helping.
It is not.
At all. because I understand that they can probably chew bubble gum and walk around at the same time if they do, in fact, chew bubble gum in India. But we were told by members of the Trump administration that some of these deals, including potentially an Indian deal, were ready to go in the next week or so.
Right.
I can't believe that the possibility of a war with Pakistan is going to get India closer to that trade deal.
Yeah, and Trump just said, he said, well, we don't need to sign these deals. They need to sign these deals. And that made people further skittish. I have said, if this is a strategic play to put pressure on China, fine. If these are tools to negotiate better trade deals, fine. And you can't say, just kidding, guys, these are just tools. You have to genuinely mean it in order for the tool to be effective. However, I maintain tariffs are not good policy. As a revenue generator or economic policy, they depress wages, create all kinds of challenges. We can't reach that judgment point until we get further down the road as to whether it's a negotiating tool or bad economic policy. And so right now he's got a window. He's got a gamble in a window, and that's it.
Here's what gives me comfort.
Mm-hmm.
I don't recall Donald Trump making this a focus of his first term.
No, he didn't.
And I think that lets me know that he understands the nature of what he's doing, and he understands how dangerous this could be. And I don't think he's immune from that.
I think that's fair.
I think he talks differently publicly than he would perhaps talk privately. But there's a reason he did not bring it up during his first term, because he understands how easily politicized some of this can be. And he understands that there's a window of opportunity, and it has to be initiated by somebody that sees the long game but doesn't care about the political ramifications in the short term.
Yeah, and the whole thing for me, I know that we don't do like principle or policy much anymore. That's not super cool politics, is that the whole thing's predicated on a national emergency. There's ongoing lawsuits right now that say, actually, there's no national emergency. Like the underpinnings for all this tariff stuff. So there's another track that's running right now in the courts that, you think about it, Trump could be negotiating all these deals, and then the courts could come in and say, actually, you don't have authority. Congress has not granted that to you because it's only for a national emergency, and you haven't reached the threshold of a national emergency. So there are so many different variables that could happen right now, and I think that's what has people a little skittish.
Tariffs, what I'm fascinated by are some who support Trump, and they're a little unsure of where to go on tariff talk because Trump changes kind of the ultimate objective from day to day. And I'm not saying I was amused, but it was just interesting that when Trump came out and said, if we just went to tariffs, we could just eliminate the income tax. And everyone's like, yay, let's do that. I'm like, y'all know that tariffs are taxes, right? Like, I appreciate all of this probably, I think, more than you do in as much as if we can accomplish the goals and get better trade deals as a result,
right,
and further decrease the American reliance on Chinese goods, I think that is ultimately a good thing because China has a long game economic plan with the United States of America. I think that's a good thing. But tariffs as a tax policy, that's not, we need to jump that rail and just go straight to a consumption tax, and I'd be all in on it. But that's exactly what it is.
Yes.
If that's what you're talking about.
Well, the model even that he talks about, there was an article that came out today that Trump's a socialist, like pointing out he thinks this is Macy's and he owns it. And was the whole argument was you're taking approaches that aren't even remotely conservative on this stuff. What I've had to get comfortable with is his tactics are completely unorthodox. If the end is free trade, free markets, low taxes, those are things I've supported for a very long time, even if I don't get the tactical approach. But if it's, actually, the thing is we just want more tax revenue. We're going to just impose another layer of taxes. Then I'm out. I don't support that. That's bad policy. It's not something conservatives should support. And so that's the difference is I've had to submit to this is maybe tactically better than anything I've seen before if it's to get to the goal. But if the goal is higher taxes, less economic freedom, more government intervention, I don't support any of that.
1733 says, you all don't know how to negotiate or wheel or deal, do you?
I do that all the time.
One of the tactics you use is acting like you don't need what they're selling so the other person comes to the table to negotiate. I think that's exactly what we're talking about, right? I mean, that if this is a means to an end to get a better negotiated deal, then you and I are both in support of that.
Yeah, let me be so bold as to say I actually think China's a bad actor that doesn't share our values, and I'm completely okay if we say, you know what, we're going to develop a global supply chain that takes advantage of where things are made, but not China.
Yeah,
we want it from Malaysia, Kenya, all these other places, and we'll work with them because they're closer to where we want to be. But China, no, you're not just a competitor. You'd like to see us fall. And so we're not going to help you.
Well, but the ultimate point, the reason that we address the subject is the media can't stand it that we're in the midst of these negotiations. And they seem to be going okay for the majority of the nations that are coming to the table of negotiation. The world has not crumbled.
Right.
The American economy has not crumbled. The stock market has had a rocky couple of months, but the stock market's fine. It will be fine.
Yeah.
So long as some of these negotiations eventually come to new trade deals. So I'm in support of all of that. I think Cameron's in support of all that. The media can't stand it because they can't
Joe
declare.
Biden said he weighed in. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh, did he now?
Yes, he came off the top rope saying our international reputation is being damaged. And you know what?
That's an actual quote.
This is some of you guys who know that I'm kind of a balls and strikes person. I don't worship any politicians. That's my DNA. This, I can tell you, Donald Trump is doing stuff. Joe Biden didn't do crap. Nope. And so I would much rather have somebody that I can react to and respond to than somebody that just kind of not there.
You know what I'm going to do?
Break.
This. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Fellas, let's talk for a moment about your energy levels. Have you noticed that you don't want to go to the gym anymore? Have you noticed that you're not getting the gains at the gym that you once did? Have you felt like you're just not as interested in, dare I say, romantic intimacy with your significant other in the manner that you used to be? Or perhaps the want to is there, but the can do maybe is not. If any of these things are happening to you, there's no shame in this game. Men, it happens to about half of the guys that are listening to this radio show at some point or another in their lives. And we live in a time where there is a solution, and it comes in the form of Tennessee Men's Clinic. Tennessee Men's Clinic wants to assist in all of those needs and get you back to that romantic intimacy that you've enjoyed with your significant other for the years that you've been together. It takes a telephone call and a visit to their offices. They have two to serve you. One's in Cool Springs and the other, the original location since 2014 in Midtown. Allow them to walk through the plan of action with you after they sit down with you. They'll give you an examination, take a little blood work, and you'll know at the end of that visit whether or not your T levels are where they need to be. And if they are, they'll talk about other opportunities to get you back right again. And if they're not, they can talk to you about that as well. It's the Tennessee Men's Clinic. Go online to find out more at TennesseeMen'sClinic.com, TennesseeMen'sClinic.com, or give them a call at 615-208-9090, 208-9090. Hello, friends. As Mother's Day is this weekend, I want to highlight an organization that cares deeply for mothers and babies. That's Preborn. Preborn's network of clinics exists exclusively to offer love and life and support to pregnant mothers who are feeling scared and alone and perhaps being pressured to make an ultimate choice to sacrifice the baby inside of themselves, to sacrifice the life of their preborn baby. But take this to heart. When that mother talks to Preborn, she's welcomed with open arms. They shower her with love. And when she's offered a free ultrasound to hear and see the precious life inside of her, did you know the majority of the time that mother chooses life? On this Mother's Day week, we ask you to bring life to a mother and an at-risk baby. One ultrasound is just $28. 5 ultrasounds, just $140. Every penny goes to loving mothers and babies as well. And when you become a monthly sponsor, you'll receive photos and stories of lives that you helped save. And can I talk to you business owners for a moment? Perhaps you consider a larger donation. This is a charitable donation that you have the ability to write off from a tax perspective. A donation of $1,000, $2,000, $10,000, $15,000 will sponsor an ultrasound machine for a needy clinic, helping save countless babies' lives for years to come. All gifts are tax deductible and will reach eternity. Get involved today by going to preborn.com/Murphy. That's preborn.com/Murphy.
.5:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. No new pope yet. Cardinals getting some sleep. They're going to vote again tomorrow. Right now in Tennessee, 3 former Memphis police officers have been acquitted of all state charges in connection to the fatal beating of Tyree Nichols in 2023 after he ran from a traffic stop. The most serious charge was second-degree murder in the state charges today. Now, all 3 officers still face possible prison time for their federal convictions. And in Nashville, the Tennessee Highway Patrol releasing more data from what it calls a coordinated traffic enforcement operation with U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents. Troopers say they've made 369 traffic stops over the last few days, made several arrests after hazardous moving violations, including 2 DUIs, 1 child endangerment arrest, 1 felony evading, 2 drug arrests, 4 felony wanted persons taken into custody, and 1 motorist assist. Troopers say immigration agents conducted their questioning of the individuals who could not provide documentation involved separately. And Money News, Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell at an afternoon press conference following the announcement to keep the preferred interest rate at the target of 4.25 to 4.5.
Despite heightened uncertainty, the economy is still in a solid position. The unemployment rate remains low, and the labor market is at or near maximum employment. Inflation has come down a great deal, but has been running somewhat above our 2% longer-run objective.
Cleared for liftoff, ABC's Jim Ryan says Elon Musk's SpaceX Corporation's been given approval for a 5-fold increase in the number of rockets it can launch from South Texas.
3, 2, 1.
It's a rumble that's likely to be felt across the Texas Gulf Coast a lot more now that the FAA has okayed up to 25 SpaceX launches a year. Rebecca Hinojosa of the South Texas Environmental Justice Network says
Elon Musk and his SpaceX staff have gutted the Federal Aviation Administration.
Others, though, welcome the infusion of tourism dollars that flow into the region every time a launch takes place.
That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. All right, seeing TDOT reporting a crash, actually it's a stalled vehicle there on the right shoulder, 40 westbound past Charlotte Pike. Other than that, you just have the usual slowdowns especially north and southbound 65 between the South Loop downtown and 440, and then eastbound 24 between downtown and the 40 split, and then eastbound 440 over to 24. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy. Jeff Eddy in Efficient Heating and Cooling wants to hear from you for a maintenance plan right now. Look, spring is quickly becoming summertime, and the temperatures have gotten to the point where you've probably already turned that AC on. Did you smell the smell? It's that smell of dust and dander burning off. You don't need that in your life. You need a Jeff Eddy in Efficient Heating and Cooling to come out, maintenance your unit. It always costs you less than $125 no matter how many units you have at your residence. Secondarily, you get the maintenance guarantee. Catch the issues before they happen. Make sure that everything's running as it should. And with Efficient, the maintenance guarantee means this. If they come back out for any reason during the same cooling season all over the course of the summer, your service charge is completely waived on that call. Get your maintenance scheduled right now. Call Efficient at 615-784-4424. When it's time to replace, don't forget they're an Elite Pro partner with Rheem. They can find you the right unit for you and your family. Go online at efficienthvac.net, efficienthvac.net. Remember what I say, if your AC is not ready, call Jeff Eddy in Efficient Heating and Cooling. Going to jump on the phone and get to Stephen before we get to Ninkoops in the news. It's almost a Ninkoops time. Ken Weaver's already declared his impending victory. We'll see about all of that.
Does it involve the Spanish-American War? I just need to know, Ken.
There's a story floating out there, and I've chosen to ignore it. I've chosen to move another way from it, away from it. Because I don't want to cast aspersions at the particular creature involved in the story.
Okay.
And that's all I'm going to say right now. And I'll say more if no one picks the story.
Well, I'm branching out. I want to be more competitive. We're not sticking to Florida anymore.
Good for you, Cameron.
Just saying.
I like that idea. Speaking of branching out, let's talk to Steven on the road. Hello, Steven.
Hey, man. Hey, yeah, just listening to you guys. Just wanted to comment real quick on I kind of know, I see where Cameron's coming from and you guys, on the tariffs, but, I kind of differ a little bit on yeah, we got Christmas coming up, and I can see where everybody will start going crazy if there's not enough stuff for Christmas time. But, I mean, really, if you really think about it, what's more important, sacrificing one Christmas or even two Christmases for, 100 more in the future? I mean, I think that Christmas will be fine. I don't think we need to worry about it. I think we need to stick with Trump's game plan and the administration on this. I think people need to realize and remember what Christmas is all about.
Amen.
If it was up to the other side, we wouldn't even be able to say Merry Christmas. So we don't want it to fall back into their hands. But, Jesus was, to me, I believe he was King of Kings and he is my Savior. And what I always marvel at is the fact that he wasn't born in a palace. He wasn't born in a fancy, he was born in a manger. And I think people need to remember that and, facet to that. And if we have to go without for a little bit for our future, for our kids and grandkids' future, I'm all for it, man.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's an interesting take. My concern is that you got to give the flip side of the equation. If we're at war or something like that, people will absolutely do what you're talking about. They will say, I'll sacrifice for the war effort. I'll sacrifice for this bigger thing. Right now, most people couldn't tell me what the bigger thing is. They just say, well, the future or a better thing. And I can tell you right now, that is not enough when that stuff in there for Christmas to not cause a political panic.
Yeah, it will. It will. It's like a gamble, but I mean, if I had to gamble on this, I think I would be gambling on the side with Trump rather than.
And thank you, Stephen, for the call. Last I checked, it's May.
I know that's what I'm saying. Is that this panic is silly? And Stephen was saying I'd gamble on the side of Trump. I'm not even sure what the other side is. And I want to be real clear about that.
I mean, the other side is the media that's just going to hate everything that Trump does.
Right. And not just the media. Democrats are, well, this is the worst. Okay, cool. What's your plan?
Right.
You tell me something positive you think is better. Fine, let's discuss it. But instead, it's everything you do is bad. Our plan is not doing anything.
And by the way, China depends on the sale of a lot of those goods that might go to buyers during the Christmas time season, too. So the possibility of them deciding just not to come to the table of negotiation and just give up on that's going to impact them, too. Maybe not as much as it would impact us at the time, but it's going to impact them, too. So,
well, like I said, I've got a contraband collection. Well, actually, my wife does. It's her American Girl dolls that she's had in the boxes forever in my mother-in-law's house. And so if these things do create a doll shortage, I'm the guy you call. I can make it happen.
You're the guy.
I'm the guy.
You're the guy.
I got your doll. American.
Your wife's not the girl. You're the guy.
I'm the guy.
And she knows this?
Yes. Ish. Maybe.
I think I got a new candidate for Ninkoop's in the news.
Ninkoop's in the news.
It's time to lay down those breaking news headlines and pick up where the Ninkoop's left off from yesterday. It's time for Ninkoop's in the news, where we look all over the state of Tennessee, all across these United States of America, and nay, the globe, and find the Ninkoop. Does anyone's Ninkoop story today involve an animal?
Not mine.
No.
Okay. So nobody's doing meth raccoon.
Meth raccoon.
Oh, I saw this.
Oh, it's so good. I'd have left it alone because I don't want to cast aspersions against the beloved raccoon.
Trash Panda Man, get after it.
Did you see that story?
No. I'm excited.
This woman got arrested, or she got stopped, and she had dogs in her car too, I think. And a raccoon was in the front seat, and she had drugs, and they're getting her out of the car.
The raccoon or the lady?
Well,
Well, you need to see the story.
Okay.
The raccoon picks up a meth pipe and appears to attempt to smoke it. Now, whether that's what the raccoon was doing or not, I don't know. But it looks like the raccoon was trying to smoke meth.
Yeah, I mean, and that's
as you do.
The opposable thumb. It's real useful.
You know, the poor raccoon, the hands are so small. The problem is he can pull the pipe up, but he can't light the lighter.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the trouble.
Little fella.
So cute.
I like how all of us thought about it. Poor fella can't smoke his meth. That's too bad. Somebody get that little fella a light. Get him some matches. Who wants to go first? Show of hands.
I'll go first.
Oh,
get him.
Weaver's in on
beat
it.
me too.
Go.
All right. This happened in 2022, just outside of Atlanta. After 74-year-old Duncan Cumming aimed the barrel of his 12-gauge shotgun at the chest of the naked man who was attempting to enter his home moments before, the man asked a question. How do I get to Atlanta? What? Cumming replied, holding the gun, walk to the end of my driveway and take a left.
That's a good answer.
Nice. Yeah.
Moments later, while the man and authorities believe his mother, also naked, were walking down Rutledge Highway near the intersection of Davis Academy Road and Rutledge Highway, Lieutenant Joseph Pritchett, responding to a frantic 911 call from the Cumming residence, arrived to both cover and arrest the man and his alleged mother.
Alleged mother.
Yes.
Mama, I done told you to take them clothes off.
Both of them were naked. Yikes. Mama and son.
That's gross.
That detention ended a brief but intense and strange series of events that began, investigators say, with the Morgan County Sheriff's Office, a car fire on I-20 where two people fully clothed were seen walking away, but somehow ended up naked, knocking on people's front doors.
We need to take these clothes off. Someone may recognize us. We don't want to draw attention.
It sure is hot. It's so hot.
Mama and son were taken to jail, charged with criminal attempt to commit burglary, public indecency, giving false statements, and giving false names to law enforcement. That's from the Morgan County Citizen.
The alleged mother. The alleged mother.
Oh, that's my mama there.
That's mama.
We're both naked.
Sir, she looks your age. But she just got good genes.
You go down to the end of the driveway and you take a left.
I love that answer.
That's a great answer. Mr. Weber.
All right, mine comes from Pueblo, Colorado. Back on April 24th, an inmate escaped the Pueblo County Jail. According to Sheriff David Lucero, the inmate was only gone for about 35 minutes after walking out of the detention center. The inmate was confirmed and identified as Lucas Brown. He was taken back into custody with following assistance from the Pueblo Police Department in locating him. According to the sheriff's office, inmates designated as kitchen trustees were cleaning up for the night when Brown went to throw out the trash, and he took off running west of 9th Street, according to the sheriff's office. At the time of his alleged escape, Mr. Brown had just 2 days left on his sentence.
What an idiot.
He was originally sentenced to 90 days for criminal mischief. Well, wouldn't you know it? He now faces additional charges and will no longer be released on time.
What are you thinking?
I don't know.
Yeah, this guy is not real bright. And according to an investigation, some uncovered court documents showed that Mr. Brown had pleaded guilty to one count of escaping from a staff secure facility back in 2017. He didn't jump out of prison or jail this time, but it was a court-mandated treatment facility. He kicked down a secure door, breaking the lock, and hopped the fence.
Wow.
In his escape attempt. So this guy's known to do it before, but he must have had a really important appointment to get to.
Man, he must have.
2 days.
48 hours.
Yeah. He just couldn't take it anymore.
It's got to go. When you got to go, you got to go. Cameron, go.
I'm trying to be more competitive here, so not limiting to Florida. This comes out of Kansas, and this is where we talk about the Spanish-American War. Gordon Pierce, 38, was arrested Thursday after a cannon from 1794 went missing from its podium in Wichita Park and was later discovered chopped into pieces.
Oh, no.
That set off. This is an interesting, and this is an 800-pound cannon. Keep that in mind.
Wow.
This is what makes it great. Pierce told investigators that he was a meth user of 20 years and owed meth always. It just is not a great drug.
Was he a raccoon owner?
Probably. he owed his dealer $20,000.
Good Lord, how do you get in that deep on meth?
After the pound of meth he was supposed to sell was reportedly stolen.
Oh, well.
He said his dealer threatened to shoot him and his family if he didn't come up with the cash, which I understand. To repay the debt, the distressed drug user planned to sell copper from statues made of the material that he could steal.
Oh, well, as you do.
Mm-hmm. He decided when he saw the cannon that he would steal it. And so it was in a dark place, according to the affidavit, and he said, I'm going to get it. Pierce then recruited a homeless man to help him with his plan by bribing him with drugs and a pipe. The two men got high on meth before trying to use their own muscles to lift the 800-pound cannon.
I mean, isn't that what meth does?
800 pounds, that's a pretty heavy cannon.
That's a big cannon.
First, the pair tried to lift the cannon into the bed of Pierce's Chevrolet Tahoe.
Nope.
But it was too heavy. Next, they hooked up a chain attached to the truck's hitch so the criminal mastermind could tow it off. Except that when he began dragging through the streets, the chain snapped in front of an automotive shop. He abandoned the cannon there and fled to a friend's house.
Just picturing the cops driving through.
Right. There's a cannon.
What's Mikey Meth Head doing over there?
He abandoned the cannon there and fled to a friend's house and acquired a new chain. Pierce used the new chain to drag it to his friend's house, where he hid it in his garage. Inside the garage, imagine how hard this would be. He chopped the cannon into 5 hunks and took some of the parts to the drug dealer in hopes it would settle his debt and save his family and friends' lives.
I don't have $20,000, but I got this hunk of cannon.
Right.
Look at that.
Looks square,
Look
right?
at that right there.
The drug dealer called Pierce stupid and told him he was going to bring the heat to his house before kicking him out.
You idiot.
Since he didn't have an ID that's required to sell scrap metal, Pierce had no real plan for pawning the 800-pound historical artifact. So he's in big trouble, and, he went... Terrified, Pierce went to his mother, confessed, and fell asleep. When he woke up, cops were there to arrest him.
Methy Joe, I didn't think about this when you were getting $20,000 deep in on me on this meth deal. But now that you've brought these hunks of cannons to my house with the cops hot on your trail,
yeah,
I'm going to go ahead and say you're a little stupid.
Do you want to know the kicker?
You're a nincompoop.
Officials from Wichita's Parks and Recreation estimated the cannon's worth more than $100,000 and that Pierce caused $10,000 worth of damage to the pedestal during the caper.
Yeah.
Ouch.
All right, finally, and I got to go quickly here, but this is a winner, boys. A nurse has been accused of shoving cheesy nachos down the leggings of her wife.
Well, now.
During a 3 a.m. domestic battery call in Florida. I'm going to repeat that. I don't even think I have to do the rest of the story, but I will. A nurse has been accused of shoving cheesy nachos down the leggings of her wife at 3 o'clock in the morning in Florida. Investigators say the 40-year-old victim was, quote, making nachos with nacho cheese in the kitchen when her spouse, Allison Swan, 39, told her she should not be eating that late, and then made a comment about her weight.
Oh, there you go.
During the argument that ensued, Swan, who had been playing video games in the living room, who's assuming the male role in this?
Yeah, I wonder.
Swan, who was playing video games in the living room, walked over to her spouse and, quote, grabbed a handful of the cheesy nachos and shoved them down the back of her leggings.
Ow!
When the victim, who is also a registered nurse, subsequently sought to change her clothes, Swan allegedly dragged her onto the floor and shoved her fingers into either side of her mouth and hooked her like a fish.
What the hell?
Allison then continued to batter her by grabbing her head and slammed it into the floor multiple times.
Goodness.
During the confrontation, the victim told police Swan made several comments that she was the one in charge and that her wife was, quote, not behaving. Wow. A friend of the victim called 911 to report hearing open an open phone line Swan Stryker's spouse. When police responded to the residence Saturday morning, Swan denied that a physical altercation had occurred. She claimed her wife had been in a drunken rage and had thrown a plate of nachos and then rolled around and covered herself in nacho cheese.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I didn't do it.
However, no, she did that. She threw them down and she rolled in them.
She's rolling around.
You even stuffed some down her pants.
However, an examination of the victim's leggings revealed, quote, what appeared to be nacho cheese on the interior backside, inconsistent with the assailant's story.
Yeah.
A substance resembling nacho cheese was found smeared on a wall. The victim also had a knot on her forehead. Swan claimed the spouse had thrown the nachos. Cops found the ceramic plate as they were preparing to arrest the assailant. So she has been arrested for domestic battery, a misdemeanor, and was freed from the county jail after posting $250 bond. And this story reminds me of how delicious a good plate of nachos truly are.
That's what I was thinking.
Honest officer, I thought she was a tortilla.
Man, I've never had anybody shove nachos in my pants.
You're not living right.
I must be missing out.
You too dang fat for them nachos.
So all of this happened to just one of them. She got nachos shoved down the back of her pants and then grabbed like a fish.
Same one.
And then had a knot on her head from the banging on the floor.
The one that got arrested was saying that I'm the one in charge.
She wasn't behaving.
Yeah.
You're not behaving.
I've tried telling Justine, my wife, she wasn't behaving before, but I never shoved nachos in her pants.
Give that a go.
Yeah.
Right after you tell her about the American Doll situation. It's 55 after the hour. That's how we play Ninkoops in the news. And yes, to answer your question, 7058, to my knowledge, the couple is still together. They're still married as far as we know. We'll be back in a moment. Your votes, 615-737-9986. Vote early, vote often. It's the Murphy Show on Super Talk. Number one question on the super text line with a bullet is why would anybody complain about hot nachos in their pants? Hey, U.S. Pest is the one-stop shop for all things pest protection in your life. Friends, if you're within the sound of my voice, then U.S. Pest can be at your door, and they can help protect your home from those bugs and those nasties that want to get in and take what is yours. Bugs want what you want. They want cool when it's hot outside. They want warm when it's cold outside. They want your food, and they will take it from you if you let them do it. U.S. Pest helps protect your home. They create a barrier on your property and in your home to prevent termites. Termite protection, 100% money-back guarantee, and every home in Tennessee is threatened by termites. But also full-service pest control with protection from brown recluse spiders and ticks and fire ants and every other kind of spider and silverfish and, of course, the ever-dreaded roaches. Crawl space service available as well. Ask them about all of these things when you make the call that so many others have made. Switch that pest protection to the best, to U.S. Pest. Go to uspest.com or 590-1260. 590-1260 for U.S. Pest.
6 o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast and traffic coming up in 5 minutes. No new pope yet. Voting will resume tomorrow after the vote today produced black smoke from the Sistine Chapel chimney of the Vatican. White smoke shows a new pope. Again, they'll try tomorrow. 3 former Memphis police officers acquitted of second-degree murder in the 2023 repeating death of Tyree Nichols, whom authorities say ran from a traffic stop. Speaking outside the courthouse after the verdict, Memphis District Attorney Steve Mulroy says he disagrees with the outcome but respects the jury.
Was I surprised that there wasn't a single guilty verdict on any of the counts or any of the lesser included offenses, given the overwhelming evidence that I think that we presented? Yes, I was surprised. Do I have an explanation for it? No.
Now, these officers still face lengthy prison sentences for their federal convictions in the case. Here in Nashville, the Tennessee Highway Patrol releasing more data from the ongoing coordinated traffic enforcement operation with U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents. According to THP, troopers have made 369 traffic stops in the Nashville area over the last few days, and the following arrests for hazardous moving violations: 2 DUIs, 1 child endangerment, 1 felony evading arrest, 2 drug arrests, and 4 felony wanted persons, then 1 motorist assist. Highway Patrol says no one was racially profiled. Each traffic stop made due to observed hazardous moving violations, and immigration agents conducted their questioning of individuals without documentation involved separately. Governor Lee says his office was notified of this operation months ago, and the state's ready and willing to help.
When they reached out to us, we were ready to coordinate with them. We are a willing partner because we want to remove dangerous people from the street.
Happening right now in downtown Nashville, Metro Council members have been meeting in a specially called emergency committee meeting to figure out next steps. Metro Legal releasing audio documentation today saying it proves that no Metro police officers were involved in detainment of individuals. The Real ID deadline is here, and senior TSA official Adam Stahl tells travelers,
get to the airport early, approximately 2 hours. If you do not have a Real ID, we suggest going even possibly earlier.
For those without a Real ID,
you could face delays at the checkpoint, and in extremely rare cases, if we can't confirm or validate your identity, possible denial.
And you can use other documents like a military ID or passport. However,
enroll as soon as you can, especially ahead of a busy travel season.
And no word of any long lines at TSA today. Money News, Fed Chairman Jerome Powell leaving interest rates right where they are, explaining why.
The risks of higher unemployment and higher inflation appear to have risen, and we believe that the current stance of monetary policy leaves us well positioned to respond in a timely way to potential economic developments.
That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. Usual brake tapping going right now north and southbound 65 between the South Loop downtown and 440. Then 440 is slow going, trying to go southbound right there on 65 in Berry Hill. 24, the usual brake tapping. It's bumper to bumper for a little while. Coming off 40, merging with 24, and then south of 440 and on down into Rutherford County, where you'll get some off and on brake tapping. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is 7 minutes after 6 o'clock. We still don't have a pope. Not that many of you care. You know, I don't care with the level of dedication that hashtag Never CNN is giving this story. I mean, they were running a crawl minutes ago. It's 1 o'clock in the morning in Italy. And they were just running a call. Soon, the second round of voting begins. What? That's not. No, it's not. That's not true. It might begin at like 8.
They're trying to make it more exciting than it is.
Breaking news. It's the middle of the night. World awaits white smoke. No pope chosen in first round of voting. You know when the last time the pope was chosen in the first round of voting?
When?
Like centuries ago.
Cool.
It's not been any time like since we've had electricity or whatnot. Anyway, 615-737-9986. I'd like to say that all of us, all four of us, Ken Weaver, Chris Weber, Cameron Smith, and Matt Murphy got votes for Ninkoops in the news tonight, which is nice.
Yay!
That's very good.
That is nice.
I would like to announce that in second place, Cameron Smith.
Yeah. It's more competitive.
Wow.
That's
with
way
the
to go,
cameras,
Brother Cam.
with the Cannon story, and the big winner today. He doesn't win often, folks, but when he does, it involves nacho cheese.
If it wasn't in the pants, you wouldn't have won.
No, that's true.
I
think the fact that it was two chicks too helped me.
Well, and one of them grabbing the other like a fish.
Yeah, in the mouth.
That was just bonus.
I've never thought to do that. I might have to try that next time.
Can you imagine? I mean, if I went to my wife and my response, forget the nachos, was just like, I'm a fish hook you.
I want
what?
I'll lay money down on the table if any one of you boys are willing to go home, and when you catch the wife, and you got to record this, you can't tell her what's happening. You catch the wife in the kitchen cooking something. Tell her, you might be a little too fat to be eating that. I just want to see. I just want to see how that plays out.
That is a bad idea.
Yeah, it's not a good idea.
No.
And I don't know what our good friend Ms. Swan was thinking.
Nope.
But apparently she decided that she was the boss in that relationship.
She was going to show her exactly where those nachos were going to go.
Yeah.
They're going to go straight to your ass. I'm telling you. Watch. Want me to prove it?
That probably is accurate.
That's nacho cheese. Anyway, so by popular demand, I'll share this story with you. For those who have not heard it, it was too good to share during Ninkoops in the news. A woman has been arrested after a raccoon named Chewy was found holding a meth pipe in the driver's seat of her car in what police are calling a, quote, strange encounter on patrol in Ohio. The incident occurred this past Monday at approximately 7:15 when Springfield Township Police Officer Austin Branham decided to conduct a traffic stop on South Arlington Road after identifying a vehicle whose registered owner had an active warrant and a suspended driver's license. When Officer Branham approached the car, he found 55-year-old Victoria Vidal of Akron and was able to detain her without incident. However, authorities say that's when things took an unusual turn. As Officer Branham returned to the vehicle, he observed a raccoon named Chewy sitting in the driver's seat with a meth pipe in its mouth. Chewy had somehow gotten a hold of a glass methamphetamine pipe, leading officers to inspect the vehicle further. You think? Police did confirm that Chewy was a pet raccoon. He was not a wild animal after Vidal had the appropriate paperwork and documentation. Well, can I just pause the story for a minute?
Yes, you should.
That's nice that she was the legal owner of that raccoon. It's nice to know that some states allow for the legal ownership of a raccoon.
Well, in Arkansas, you don't need the papers. You could have 6. Now, that'd be a wild car.
Mm-hmm.
But
by the way,
with the meth.
For those who do not know, Cameron and I are big supporters of our, what is it called? The
Trash Panda Act.
Trash Panda Act.
Yeah.
Oh, I have a copy of it here. It's the Tennessee Raccoon Adoption, Safety, and Habitat Protection and Nursing Domestic Animal Act.
Trash Panda.
Trash Panda Act. A subsequent search of the vehicle revealed that Vidal's car contained a bulk amount of meth.
Bulk amount?
I mean,
bulk meth. It's different.
Crack cocaine and 3 used glass methamphetamine pipes. Vidal was charged with possession of drugs, 3 counts of possession of drug paraphernalia, was cited for driving under suspicion. She was also subsequently turned over to the Chacuga Falls Police active warrant. They had additional charges related to, guess for now, crack cocaine possession. You guessed right. Thankfully, Chewy the raccoon was unharmed, and notification was made to the proper authorities to determine that she has the proper paperwork and documentation to own the raccoon. While our officers are trained to expect the unexpected, finding a raccoon holding a meth pipe is a first. Authorities also want everyone listening to the story to know no raccoons were hurt or injured in the incident. As always, we remain committed to keeping our community safe, no matter what surprises may come our way. No word on what happened to the raccoon. One would assume that the raccoon is at a safe raccoon sanctuary of some sort.
Well, to say the raccoon wasn't hurt if he was smoking the meth.
No, the raccoon was not. The raccoon was holding the meth pipe, Cameron.
That's what all of them say.
I was just holding it for a friend.
Right.
I wasn't smoking. No, the raccoon, as I said earlier, his little raccoon thumbs could not strike the appropriate fire device like a match or
inability to light is
lighter.
An affirmative defense. Okay, got it.
Yeah, couldn't light the pipe. Dallas says obviously she was charged, or she was in charge. Oh yeah, well she was in charge. Anyway, there you go. 14 after the hour. Are you watching at all the Pope deal? I mean, is it interesting to you because it doesn't happen very often? That's the only interest that I have in this.
As a Baptist, no.
No?
No, I just don't. I'm like, good. I want you to have a Pope, I guess. But if they're still into that papal infallibility thing, I'm out.
You know, they don't talk about the infallibility of the Pope anymore. Not really. You notice that? When I was a kid, I was fascinated with that. I was fascinated with the idea that a guy gets elected. Like, I didn't really understand exactly how that happened, but I remember being a kid, and I remember talking about this in, like, maybe Sunday school. Like, well, they have the Pope, and we don't believe in that. We don't believe in the infallibility of man.
Right.
I'm like, what? And I was fascinated with the idea that you put on the hat, and suddenly you can do no wrong.
Yeah.
Kind of weird.
Yeah, I'm not into that. And also, Ron Swanson was a character on Parks and Rec, and he would just make a letter that said he could do whatever he wanted. Mm-hmm. And that strikes me kind of the same.
I guess it's a newsworthy item. I did not realize. Would you care to guess how many Catholics there are in the world?
What, 3 billion, 4 billion?
Man, you shot high.
Yeah, they're everywhere. I just asked J.D. Vance.
Hold on. I think I looked this up earlier, and now I'm on a personal hotspot because the internet is down. Let's see if we can get it back. I think it was 1.4 billion.
Yeah, it's in the billions. I knew that. I just didn't know how many billions.
I want to say that it's 1.4 billion, which I thought was kind of high. Percentage of Catholics in the United States of America. You want to take a guess with that?
Is it of all Americans, or are you asking of the religiously affiliated?
No, just to all Americans.
12%?
20% is what I got. I got 48% Protestant, 20% Catholic.
Yeah.
And then a lot of unaffiliated.
Yeah, you're right. I got 1.4 billion baptized Catholics worldwide.
That's a lot. I mean, so I suppose that for those who, I just don't understand the appeal of having a pope.
I mean, I've been to the Vatican. I've engaged that.
Have you?
Yeah, it's neat. It is.
I bet it's cool.
The history and everything is fascinating, but also the reason I'm a Protestant, because their history was not great. Indulgences and things like that.
They kind of abused the system for a long, long time, didn't they?
Not awesome. When you're like, yes, if you would like
as
to
recently as like last week.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
If you would like to be forgiven, you must give me stuff.
Right.
That makes me.
Was that the indulgences?
Yes.
Right. Give me. Yeah. What'd you do? Just give me a couple bucks. No, and it wasn't just that. It was, what are you going to do? Wasn't it? It's like, what are you going to do this weekend? Well, just give me a couple bucks.
Well,
okay, you're good.
I mean, and I also don't like going into small closets with other men, but that's just me.
I mean, I guess confession is good for the soul.
It is, but I don't need a closet.
No, you just need some knees and a prayerful opportunity.
Right. I mean, that is the appeal straight to God is actually pretty interesting. I'm into that.
Well, and and my ignorance of the Catholic faith, and I know that those of you who are Catholic in the listening audience are probably rolling your eyes or turning the channel or whatever, and I'm not trying to cast aspersions against your faith, and you can call us and educate me on a lot of this stuff, because mine is a very rudimentary, like fourth grade, learner about all of this.
Sure.
So I don't pretend to understand it, but I mean, for a long time, they would not allow people of the Catholic faith to read the Bible, right? Because they said that was left for the.
I don't know on that. In looking at the history of the church and understanding what Martin Luther did and understanding the sort of fork in the road between Protestantism and Catholicism, I'm on one side of that. But I mean, look, there's going to be a lot of theological disagreement across the world, and all of us who believe different things about God and spiritual authority and things like that. So, in saying that, I have a different perspective than Catholicism is because I'm not a Catholic. And so for Catholics, this is big time, right?
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
This is the head of your church. This is the direction of the church. And particularly for folks in the United States who are on, let's just say those are of the more conservative tradition, the nature of the Pope matters a lot.
And I would like to say, and once again, my ignorance of the faith is obvious, and I just got called an irrelevant POS. Why am I being called an irrelevant POS? Your irreverence toward the selection of the next Pope is borderline despicable. I'm not Catholic.
Right.
Why do I have to care if I'm not Catholic?
Well,
I don't. Well, if I don't understand Roman Catholicism, by all means, call me and educate me on how the Catholic faith used the power of the church to control and keep people fearful in their daily lives as a result of it. I mean, you're welcome to call me and let me know. I mean, and how the Catholic, I'm sorry, but it's a little difficult for me to get over that, in my lifetime, the Catholic faith actively covered up child molestation. Is that not a fact? Is that not a fact?
So the faith, no, but leaders within the faith, yes, that's a fact.
So I don't know what to tell you. I'm not trying to cast aspersions at people that follow the faith, because
right.
What I was about to say before I got off on a tangent was, if you are of the Christian persuasion, we're all kind of pointing in the same direction. We're pointing to Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and we have our differences and have for, a long time. And that's okay. That's not a bad thing. But, for example, for Protestants to say, I'm interested in the Catholic, it's more of this is a tradition, there's smoke, it comes up. Is the Pope going to be more conservative? Is the Pope going to be more liberal? Like that kind of thing. So,
Well, but the church, so I would like to say that in modern times the church has been politicized, but I think the church has always been a political entity too, right? In addition to a spiritual and
absolutely. I mean, for anybody to say that the church, whether it be Catholic,
it doesn't mean not just
Protestant.
Catholic. Yeah.
I mean, the to not have that political component, the church has long had that. I mean, it is functionally people interacting, and so I mean, this idea that we want to stay out of politics is why we have a broken culture. I mean, we absolutely need folks to say, yeah, we're going to talk about all these things through the lens of our faith, not hiding from it. And so, I think that's interesting. I always have fun with the liberal media that is not Catholic at all, talking about Catholicism.
I mean,
it's very exciting.
I was saying earlier today that I do find the process fascinating. I find that because it happens so little, it's only happened in my lifetime 5 times, and the first 3 were in the first 5 years of my life, right? So it does not happen very often that a new pontiff is selected. And so I do have every respect in the world for that. And people are accusing me of being disrespectful of the Catholic faith. I'm not trying to be disrespectful of the Catholic faith. 1513 puts a fine point on it and says, Matt, you are an idiot.
I get that one from time to time.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I don't pretend to understand the inner workings of the Catholic faith.
Trying to convert you to Catholicism with that.
I mean, maybe. I don't know. And I'm not trying to cast aspersions either. I don't even have an interest in bringing it up, except to say that, I mean, these things happened in my lifetime, and as Catholics, I'm sure that they're very hurtful. That you have to recognize that those things happened.
Well, I also recognize that I'm in a glass house and I cannot throw rocks because, I mean, have you heard of the Southern Baptist Convention?
I mean,
let me tell you. I mean, it's not that any of these faiths don't have their warts because they're human. Of course they do. Right? The challenge, I think, particularly in our modern culture, is the formality and tradition of the Catholic Church in a very informal society. That's why it's interesting is we don't see that a lot anymore.
Well,
that's it.
And the Catholic faith, based on the manner in which it is set up, leads us to ask questions about how far up the food chain some of these issues went before they were found out. And you don't have that in many other faiths because there's not a tip of that spear in other faiths.
Yeah.
Right? There's not a head of the Baptist church.
Right.
There's not a head of the Methodist church. I don't maybe there is. I don't know.
Well, the head of, I mean, this is the difference in, one of the prime differences in Protestantism and Catholicism is this is why Martin Luther basically said, no, we're not with you guys.
Quick timeout, and we'll allow all of you that are calling in to call me an idiot to call me an idiot. It's 24 after the hour on Super Talk. Hello, friends. It's Matt Murphy, and I want to talk to you for a moment about something we can all agree on, and that is delicious spices from Savory Spice. Look, I mentioned this the other day, and it kind of rung true with a lot of you because I got a lot of response from it. That if you're looking to lose weight and you want a good way to do that, go to Savory Spice because they have delicious seasonings that are no-calorie seasonings that you could put on food. That, frankly, these low-cal foods, I mean, veggies and other things that you eat at a low-calorie point, there's not a lot of flavor in there. And for those of us who are used to some more flavor, well, you get calories with that flavor. You can get delicious flavor through seasonings at Savory Spice without the calories, and it can help you out. I'm telling you, it has helped me. They have some delicious blends at Savory Spice of different types of seasonings that go with veggies or go with a cut of meat, like lean cut of fish or whatnot. I mean, it's good to get in there and find something right for you. Seasonings, they got them salts and peppers. Of course, they have those. All manner of international flavors. You'll find it at Savory Spice. Holly and David to remind you that you up your food game by upping your spice game. You up your spice game at Savory Spice. Just off the square in Franklin, next to Gray's Pharmacy. Go by, say hello, and tell them that I sent you to Savory Spice. I think you Ken Weaver. We'll get to Ken momentarily. I have inadvertently annoyed a lot of Catholics, and it was not my intention. Although I do think it would be a good idea to rename this show Casting Aspersions with Matt Murphy.
That's a good name.
Nice ring to it, yeah.
I think so, because apparently I say that a lot. Do I say that a lot?
You
Weber?
do.
Okay.
Quite a bit, yeah.
I'm not here to cast aspersions.
Then you cast away.
I know. It's like it's I'll fall on that sword. I admit it that yes, it's like a shield. Hey, don't take anything that I say personally after I say that I'm not casting aspersions, but here's some aspersions.
Yeah.
And I
cast them.
And I cast them.
It's like when someone goes, "No offense, but."
Right, right.
If you say it first, you can say whatever you want after.
Right.
It's true. Facts. Science.
0142, thank you for all of the Bible verses. I do appreciate that. TB says, I'm not Catholic either, but I recognize. Because TB says, biggest story in the world for most of the world, but no big deal for Matt. Too cool to care. I mean, I guess I care in the sense that I care about people who are of Catholic faith. And as much as I care about people who are of Catholic faith, I understand that it's very important to y'all. But insisting that it be important to me is silly. I'm not Catholic.
What? Imagine that you had freedom of religion.
Right. I don't.
Well, and
I'm not. I mean, it's, and TB writes, that's the point, zooming right over your head. What point is it that I have to care about this? I'm sorry, but that's where I will cast an aspersion or two. I don't have to care about anything, bud. I'm a free human being. I'm a free will.
Yeah, but this is kind of the point of this. As a Christian, let me tell you, like, the culture makes fun of Christianity all the time. In fact, have you heard of the righteous gemstones? I mean, there are plenty of these things all over the place. And for people of faith, I think it's really important to, not have a chip on your shoulder when people who don't share your faith don't care. That literally, for me as a Christian, the fact that the world's gonna world, all right. I mean, I don't, questioning whether or not I must care about something I don't believe in,
I mean, I find it interesting.
Yes, I'll give you that.
I find it interesting. And
so let's talk about the respect thing for a minute. They said care? No, you don't have to care. You must respect.
We have to do it after Weaver. We have to do it after Weaver. 32 after the hour, and we will talk about the respect thing. And 1513 says that I owe Catholics a public apology. Let's see if we get it next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I have to closely monitor Cameron Smith from now until the end of the show because I'm responsible for the things that come out of these speakers, myself and Chris Webber.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of folks that are mad at me. I didn't realize I was making people mad at me, but a lot of people are mad at me right now.
I mean, you did after a minute or two because there were a lot of them.
A lot of them.
Yeah.
And I appreciate all of you listening of any faith. Thank you. It was not necessarily my intention to upset so many of you based on my flippant remarks regarding the selection of the head of the Catholic Church.
Well, our Catholic brethren obviously activated the network, and we're going, man.
1221 says, way to bash one of the most prominent Christian churches, jackass. To which I said, how did I do that? It's an honest question. It wasn't my intention. Making fun of confession. That was you. That was not me. That was you. You did that.
Because I have an actual theological disagreement with it.
That's fine. But you're right. Why would anyone care about the leader of one of the largest churches in the world that has a huge influence over social issues that affects billions of people, particularly in predominant Catholic? You know, I think maybe I'm jaded a little bit regarding how so many Catholics can vote Democrat is probably jading my viewpoint on this a little bit. I'm trying to be open and honest. I'm not kidding right now.
Yeah.
Because I have a difficult time understanding how so many of you carry your faith with you every day of your lives, and then how so many Catholics could vote for a political party that wants to kill people up until birth.
Yeah, and within the church, particularly on the question of life, I mean, we Protestants and Catholics, I would refer to us as co-belligerents, that even though we have theological disagreements on the question of life, we're pretty consistent, right?
Yeah.
And that's one that you want to talk about hitting the hornet's nest is folks who consider themselves Christians and Catholics who are pro-choice versus those of us who are pro-life. That's one of the central disagreements amongst folks in the churches. Well, how do you see God as a God of life and that you think these practices are acceptable? And again, the particularly issues of sexuality from a theological standpoint are, one of the big controversies in the Catholic Church as far as recognizing marriage and different things like that. These aren't going away anytime soon.
Well, I guess to use your phraseology, kicked the hornet's nest when I brought up some of the issues involving the Catholic Church and the cover-ups over the last 50 years. I understand that probably most of you who are Catholic in the audience are far, far more upset about that than I am.
Of course.
Because it probably hit a lot closer to you than it did to me. In the meantime, let's talk to several of you. I'm going to shut up now and give you the floor. Hello, Jenny. How are you?
I am well, Matt. How are you?
I'm fabulous. Thank you for asking.
Long-time listener, first-time caller, and I only said that because I was listening yesterday.
I'm glad you're here.
Thank you. But no, you are not an idiot. You're a DGD, and I absolutely respect you for that.
What is a DGB?
DGD. Damn good dog.
Damn good dog.
Oh.
D.
Oh.
Woof, woof, woof.
And I am
Gross.
a Catholic convert. And I just wanted to set things straight a little bit on the issue of papal infallibility and a couple of other things that were mentioned. Papal infallibility does not come with the Zighetto or the mitre. It only applies when the Pope is speaking what we call ex cathedra.
Yes.
Ex cathedra means from the chair of St. Peter when he's making a theological statement.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only time papal infallibility applies.
Got it.
But I happened to be in Rome on the day that Francis was elected Pope. And that was a very interesting night. We arrived about 2 hours before the white smoke came
Holy moly. I bet that was incredible. I mean, in all sincerity, I bet that was an incredible time, especially for those.
It
who are
was.
Catholic.
We were in a little restaurant. It was my son's graduation present. We were with a group of students from Pflugerville, Texas, and we were in a restaurant. They served us pizza. We were just finishing our dinner. There were locals in there dining too. We weren't the only ones in the restaurant. All of a sudden, everyone's cell phones started blowing up. Horns were honking outside. People cheering in the streets, people cheering in the restaurant, and just everywhere. Habemus Papam, Habemus Papam, we have a pope, we have a pope. And it went on like that for the rest of the night.
No, it's incredible. I mean, and I'm certain that that's what's going to happen over the next several days. I have no idea how long it takes. How long has, and thank you, Jenny, for the telephone call. Thank you for listening. Thank you for making us your first telephone call. Jenny said that she's a longtime listener, first-time caller. And I appreciate the first opportunity that she had to use a phone. She called us. So I wonder what the longest period of time that it took to select.
I don't know.
I saw something earlier that said that, I don't remember when it was, but it said 3 years.
3 years?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, in some of this stuff,
I guess maybe, back in the day.
In some of this stuff, like that's a really good. I was actually looking this up because I'm actually curious now that there's only 2 instances that I can see of papal infallibility being invoked, and one is the dogma of the Immaculate Conception of Mary, that Mary was born without original sin. I don't believe that as a Protestant, and that's something that was declared by the Pope, and that would be an example of where we have a theological disagreement. But that doesn't mean I'm somehow upset with Catholics. But these are just interesting differences in what people believe, and I don't think they should be insulted for them. But the idea that people can openly disagree with that's part of religious freedom, and that's
1513 says, I hope you have to stand before the mast tomorrow before management. I don't understand what that means. Is that a phrase known through
like
in Catholic circles?
A ship's mast?
I don't know. I'm also being called by 1513 an ignorant dumbass, and 1513 demands to know where's the apology. I'm not going to offer an apology. Exactly what am I apologizing for? I mean, I could get into a discussion about who owes the apology to whom, and, what authority figures owe apologies to what other figures in this conversation, 1513. But I assure you, Matt Murphy owes you no apology.
Cameron is wearing devil red tonight. Maybe the Catholics are watching on YouTube TV. This red is so satanic. It's orange. Good grief. Guys, come on. I like what
I got people mad at me about being knocking on Catholics. I got people telling me that the head of the Catholic Church is Satan. That's where we are on the super text line right now.
Yeah. We got everything. I'm with Kathy. We can only pray that our next pope is more conservative. Yeah, I think there's a lot of Catholics who share Kathy's perspective.
And I wish you well in that endeavor. I don't think that. I wish you well in that endeavor. That's what I would say about that. Hopefully the Cardinals that have been selected take that under consideration. But I don't know what I guess my confusion is, and perhaps it's because I'm not a Catholic, is what impact that has around the world. Maybe it does. Maybe I'm underestimating. I'm not being funny. I'm not being flip. What impact did Francis have around the world about interglobal politics with regard to political decisions? Francis was known as a liberal pope.
Yes.
What impact did that have on the globe? I'm asking an honest question. He was pope for what, 10 years?
Right. And
what impact did him being so liberal have outside of the Catholic Church? And I don't know, and that is, I'm not
Well, I mean,
I'm just asking.
Know what you believe. And this is where and I understand the limited use of papal infallibility, but this is where I don't want any human, to be proclaimed infallible on anything, because I've watched religious leaders of all stripes, and particularly political ones too, who are just wrong about a lot of stuff. And it's perfectly fine to put out interpretations and say, here's what I think this means, here's what I think about faith. But good grief, the idea that we would give any infallibility to one person or any authority, I mean, to make definitive interpretations about what Scripture means, for example.
Sean, I hear what you have to say about the matter, and 2285 says, I could care less. That's a pet peeve. It's couldn't. But I could care less about your opinion on Catholics, Matt. I don't like your choice of college football team. Now, hold on.
Now we're talking. Now it's getting real.
Now we're getting down to where the goats can graze on it. It's George, and it's George's turn. Hey, George.
Hey, how's it going, Matt?
Doing well, George.
I don't care what anyone says. You're my brother in Christ.
Thank you. Thank you. God bless you, George. I appreciate that.
But I'll tell you why you might be considered ignorant, because you don't have the inner workings of the Catholic Church. As a former Catholic, a recovering Catholic, I might say, the one thing that troubled me the most the whole time I participated is that they don't use the Bible. They're not trained to go home and read your Bible or to set up Bible study groups, although they do have them. But the majority of the people just go to church and follow the Mass. That's all you're trained to do when you go to catechism. You're just trained to be a Catholic. They tell you how to genuflect, when to make the sign of the cross, how to receive communion, but they don't say anything about, I need you to go home and read the book of John tonight. Because
we lost him.
Oh, well, George, we're losing you there. And that might be a good time to put a capper on it one way or the other. It's 52 after the hour. You're listening to Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We'll wrap things up right after this. Genesis Diamonds is your destination for the best Mother's Day gifts. This year, give her something that's truly timeless, something that she'll talk about for years and years to come. A special something from Genesis Diamonds. They put together an incredible selection of Mother's Day gifts that are both affordable and stylish. Layered necklaces, stackable rings, eternity bands, colored gemstone pieces, heirloom quality jewelry, diamond bracelets and earrings, and much, much, much more. These are pieces of jewelry she can wear anywhere, and she will enjoy for years to come. Dinner out is great. A thoughtful card is important, but if you really want to let her know what she means to you and the family, bring her something from Genesis Diamonds. A birthstone ring or something elegant from Takori. Genesis Diamonds has non-commissioned experts to help you pick something out. So, men, don't be intimidated. They're not going to try to upsell you on anything. They're going to stay within your budget, and they're going to find the right thing for you and the right thing for the mother in your life. So whether it's her first Mother's Day or her 61st Mother's Day, let's get Mom something that she deserves. Anything but ordinary. Go to see my friends at Genesis Diamonds. Genesis Diamonds, located in Green Hills and Cool Springs. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Genesis Diamonds. It is 57 after the hour, a couple of minutes until we'll hand off to ABC News, and then before you know it, the great one, Mark Levin, will be along. Friends, I will admit this to you, and I don't say these words very often, but I am 100%, well, maybe not 100%, but I am ignorant on this subject. And I admit my ignorance. Cameron and I were just talking about it. I mean, so many of you, like 1513, just keeps repeating it over and over again. You're ignorant. You're ignorant. Where's the apology? He also calls me a dumbass a lot in these exchanges. But I admit that I'm ignorant of the workings of the Catholic faith and the Catholic Church, and I admit that. That's part of the reason I brought up the subject, to become more educated on it. And somehow I've upset a lot of the Catholics.
Yeah, and the historic corruption within the Catholic Church that is part of history does not mean that every Catholic subscribes to that. In fact,
no, of course not.
Catholics are saying, no, actually, those practices, we're glad they ended. We don't like that model. We didn't. And when you see some of the crimes committed by priests, Catholics aren't like, well, they're
all down with that. Yeah, I know.
Basically good guys. No, this is awful. This is terrible. So, I mean, I think we need to be clear that when we raise these things, we are not trying to in any way apply that to everybody. Just the way it is.
Thank you for being with us. Thanks for listening. Hey, Larry.
Yes, sir.
You got 20 seconds, but I'm going to give it to you. I'm sorry.
Well, I'll try to make it fast, but, I'm Southern, so I'll speak slow. First of all, you're by far not ignorant. And secondly, I'm so glad Cameron's doing better.
Thank you.
I was brought up Free Will Baptist. We thought Southern Baptists were liberals and Catholics were
Roll Tide.
Let's just leave it there. Thank you, Larry, for the call. Thank you, Cameron. I like your fetching Satan Red shirt. My name is Matt Murphy, and as long as I don't get called to the office, according to 1513, I'll be back tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Until then, for Chris Weber, for Ken Weaver, for Cameron, have a great evening, folks. Hug your loved ones. So long, everybody.